Right, we are live. Hey guys, how's it going? Welcome back to the Kiwi Lads channel. We are back for the last Rugby International for this weekend. Of course, there are plenty more coming next week, but this one, Australia taking on Wales. Two sides that would absolutely love to get the victory here. Australia getting the massive upset up against the English last week, whereas Wales, they have gone 10 matches in a row without the victory. Starting to get into that tricky territory. They're 11th at the moment in the world rankings. If they can somehow beat Australia here with how the rankings works, they could shoot themselves up just that little bit further. But for Australia, they want two in a row. They want to really prove themselves throughout this November international. Joe Schmidt getting the team in the right direction, but looking through quite a few changes for both of these sides. First of all, though, with this Welsh team, Gareth Thomas, Dewey Lake, and Archie Griffin as the front row, Will Rowlands and Adam Beard in the locks. I feel like this game for them in particular is extremely important. Will Skelton returning for the Australians, so a handful there. But Adam Beard and Rowlands, when they're on form, they can be very dangerous. For this Welsh side, James Botham at number 6, Jack Morgan moves into the starting lineup at number 7, and Aaron Wainwright, the starting number 8. Bevan and Anscombe will be the 9-10 combination with Thomas and Llewellyn. In the midfield, Ben Thomas last week, he didn't have his best game up against the Fijians. There were many moments where he did possibly blow the opportunity of a try being scored. Just needs that little bit of calmness, and that can actually be said about a majority of this Welsh team, just really handling that pressure. And at the end of the day, at the Principality, in a game that even after losing 10 in a row, they aren't a huge underdog for, there will certainly be a lot of pressure for this Welsh team. Blair Murray out on one wing, Tom Rogers out on the other, and then Cameron Winnett at number 15 for the Wallabies. They have decided to rotate their stocks here yet again. Angus Bell, Matt Fazer, and Alan Alatoa as the front row, Nick Frost, and the return of Will Skelton. Of course, a man mountain. Very hard to stop him when he gets the ball in hand, and I feel like that in particular will give Australia quite the advantage when it comes to the forward. Sururu at number 6 with Fraser McRae and Rob Valentini, the other two in the loose forward trio. Nick White and Nola Lalisio, so a little bit of a switch there. Samu Karevi moves into 12 with Lenny Katau at 13, so after Joseph Suali'i got himself a man-of-the-match performance, he does find himself out of the starting side, and I mean, it's exactly what New Zealand did with Damian McKenzie. I'm not sure what the reasoning hugely is behind it in terms of, I get that they have to rotate, but at the same time, you probably want to get Suali'i as many possible minutes as you can throughout November so that you build him into next year for this Wallabies team as well. Max Jorgensen at number 11, who scored the last-minute try up against the English. Andrew Callaway at 14, and then Tom Wright as the number 15. Those are the starting sides. Ladies and gentlemen, good afternoon. Hamish, there's Kerno Weck. Welcome in. Will we watch the game, or will this guy keep talking? I will keep talking, Zoe, seeing as it is illegal to show anything on YouTube. I can't see Wales winning, says Ars Robinson. Well, that's the thing. Like, I mentioned how they weren't a huge underdog. In fact, they're a much smaller underdog than a lot of the other big sides have been throughout this weekend. But, like, they're one of those sides, because they've lost so much experience and because they're in that rebuilding phase, it does get tricky to back them in games like this. But then saying that, Australia, we've got to remember, not that long ago, we're also in the same situation. They just had the changeover of Joe Schmidt, and, they've actually done all right so far. I know that some people still expect higher from Australia, but we've got to remember how low they were, so it's going to take a bit of time to get back up to the top. Let's go. The other green and gold, says Martin Meyer there. And I, for one, want Hamish to keep talking, says the Big V8 Show. So thank you very much, mate, and welcome in to the stream. And morning, Hamish, says JD. Welcome in, JD there. And I'm going with Australia today, guys, says Wesley, a little bit earlier on. Nice comms, Kiwi lads. Says our bones. Of course, we've done a few already throughout this weekend, but this one will be the last of this Rugby Internationals weekend. We've had a lot of games taking place already. These are the games from yesterday and the day prior. Now, of course, we've already seen a couple more games taking place today. The England XV, or England A, managing to get themselves the win over Australia A. And then also Italy versus Georgia. That was an extremely close game the last time I checked. I haven't actually seen what the full-time score was, but Italy had just a little advantage, so I wonder whether or not they managed to close it out. But as you can see, it's either a pretty close game over this weekend or a bit one-sided. 3 points difference between Ireland and Argentina. We saw Fiji get themselves a good win over Spain. They actually managed to beat Wales in last week's game, and then a couple big matches that took place yesterday as well. They are just showing some of Fraser McWright's stats from last week, having 3 line breaks, 2 defenders beaten, and made 17 tackles throughout that game. He will be playing as the number 7 for the Australians, and they have got a little bit of forward replacement in this contest. Langy Gleeson at number 20, Lukan Salakaia-Lotto also there at number 19. A great player to have closing out a game for the Australians. As you can see, Joseph Suaalii will also get his chance off the bench with Tate McDermott at 21 and Ben Donaldson number 22. I kind of expected Tate McDermott to start this game, seeing as when he made his way on the field last week for Jake Gordon from the blood bin, he actually looked really strong, getting that Wallabies attack going forward, and also helped set up their very first try of the contest. Bit of experience off the bench for the Welsh, but it is very hard to get massive numbers in terms of caps at the moment for Wales, just because they lost so many of their experienced heads. But they are in the rebuilding stage last week. They weren't quite able to get the job done up against the Fijians. Fiji getting their revenge for that Rugby World Cup group stage, and also a 5-point difference in the other game that we saw between Australia and England. So there's a chance that this game could be relatively close, but we will have to wait and see. Did you see Italy versus Georgia? Great game. Says Gus, Italy 20, Georgia 17. Okay, so it stayed the same score as I saw it last. What did you think of Peter Luckguy's performance? I thought he did extremely well off the bench. He had a couple rookie errors, but then saying that, at the end of the day, he is still a rookie. But like scoring that first try, having a lot of carries, it just showed maybe that's something they should have tried a little while ago anyway. It's actually, it's something I wouldn't mind seeing up against the Italians. It's very hard to know what Scott Robertson's thinking in terms of selection now. Does he go with the stronger side again up against the Italians? The original plan would have been go experimental, but now the All Blacks, they're coming off a loss. So does he look to try and build upon what he's built throughout November, or does he give those other guys a bit of the chance? We have got there, go check your stream for the box. Yesterday I called box by 9 and Colby MVP in your chat, says Martin Meyer. And we have got their number 19 nickname ticket is Grant Fussell there. Hopefully I've said that correctly. And so Lee on the bench, good idea. I'm interested to see how it goes, just because you're in that situation of he's only ever started just because he's only had one game. So whether or not he can take to a different position quickly later on in the game is yet to be seen. I mean, we saw Roger Tuivasa-Sheck for New Zealand at times when they tried to bring him off the bench. It never really had that much of an impact, but perhaps for Australia it could help them really accelerate in this game. I was hoping that the All Blacks would beat France. Sorry, mate, so close. I'm hoping that Australia can beat Wales tonight. Thanks for the commentary. Happy about the box result, says Josh Pike. I mean, it was a bit more one-sided than I expected it to be in terms of scoreline. I mean, 9 points is still a pretty close game, though, but I don't think England quite had that same oomph that they had in their game the 2 weeks prior. And I feel like that's just one of those ones, unfortunately, for England. When you have close losses, it can take a lot out of you, and it's been a hard November internationals for them, and I feel like that game next week up against Japan, it will be a nice change, but they also can't underestimate Japan, because when sides do that, they can get beaten. I'm from South Africa. Everybody okay? I want to follow this game because the Springboks play Wales next weekend, says Renier, and yeah, that's not exactly an easy game for Wales to close out their November internationals. Hamish, do you think Ratama is good enough as an international 9, says Dan Bota? It is an interesting question because, it was only maybe a few months ago that everyone was begging to see Ratama in the starting side. There was TJ Perenara, there was Finlay Christie, there was Cortez Ratama, and everyone was saying, please, please, please give Ratama starting minutes, give him opportunities. And now those same people who were saying that have now said, right, I don't want to see Ratama in the squad, is the comment they're making. So it just shows how quickly you can go from hero to zero, and how, in the nicest way possible, how fickle people's opinions of rugby players can be. Because, we see it week in, week out. A guy goes from everyone's talking about him, everyone wants to see him in the starting side, to disappearing the next week, and everyone's happy about it. So, it's one of those ones, he'll have a good game at some point, and everyone will be back on the Ratama train. But until then, they're going to be annoyed about that last performance and be begging for Roygaard. Like, that's the thing as well. If Roygaard has a bad game, eventually he could find himself getting that same criticism as Cortez Ratama. It's just lucky for Roygaard that he hasn't had that yet. So hopefully it's not next week, or else it's a long time until the next international to be able to prove himself. If Wales lose, how much time does Gatland have? I mean, to be fair, I don't think Gatland would mind giving up this Welsh side at the moment. Like he said at the very start when he went into this game, he was in that scenario of if he knew what Welsh rugby was like and the depths that they were in, he wouldn't have taken the job. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one to see what their plan is. Like they've mentioned, they've never gone a calendar year without a winner. At least the last time that they did was about 1940 or something like that. So if they don't beat Australia here, the chances of beating South Africa next week I think are pretty slim, just off the way that the world champs are going currently. I got you on and cricket on today. You're not going to get spoiler from me. Says Robert V. Submitting my resume to the Welsh Rugby Union to be next Wales head coach. Says Bill, you'll be one of the few who are actually submitting it. I don't think many coaches actually want the Welsh side. A little bit the same as what was happening with Australia in terms of coaches just didn't really want to take that risk. It really does hurt your coaching record when you go for one of these sides. But Joe Schmidt trying to turn it around. Hi, Hamish from Durban. What do you think should improve, or what do you think should happen to improve Wales? They're going through a terrible period, 10 losses on the trot, says Brian. Like, the thing is, in those 10 losses, they've had some close games. And it's a little bit similar to England. Like, England are on a 5-match losing streak at the moment, but everyone is concentrated on Wales. Yes, England have been extremely close as well, but still, 5 losses in a row for the English is something that is almost unheard of. But, you know, you're in that scenario, or at least it's at least 4, isn't it, that I've lost in a row, England. But you just, like, it's going to take time. If you take any side in the world and you lose all of your experience at once, like, it makes it so difficult to be able to just instantly turn it around and be expected to do well. You know, they lost Alan Wynne-Jones, they lost Dan Biggar, they lost, I mean, the list goes on. Lee Halfpenny, I know that some people would say he hasn't been that active in a Welsh kit, but losing him alongside in that midfield combo, Jonathan Davis, like, there's just a list of them. Lewis Rees-Zammit even. And losing everyone at the same time, or roughly at the same time. Josh Adams. Josh Adams. That's his name. Why does it sound so weird to say his name? The winger. It's Josh Adams, isn't it? Aloha Nedze might have doubled his asking price. Look at his break and offload if you get the chance, says Gus. And there's still a few international games from this weekend that I've got to catch back up on. Watched a bit of the UFC yesterday. It was an interesting fight card. I'm on Wales' side. Caesarea there, but both sides just about to make their way out of the tunnel for this matchup. Gareth Anscombe, big opportunity for him starting at 10 in this game. Sam Costello making his way off of the bench, but Dewey Lakey is going to be leading the side out. Tell you what, the lights are really going in that tunnel. Looks like Rob Valentini as well as Samu Karevi will both lead out the Australians onto the field. Karevi, a big chance for him. He hasn't been in a Wallabies kit for quite some time. All throughout the Rugby Championship, Joe Schmidt decided that he wanted to go with men who did compete in Super Rugby. There's a Messiah Joseph playing. He is coming off the bench in this game. So whether he gets 20 minutes or whether he gets 2 minutes is still to be confirmed. All those players ran away from WRU. You can't blame them, says Grant. Yeah, they pretty much jumped off a sinking ship in the nicest way possible, which doesn't sound very nice at all. But, like, Warren Gatland, he said that he would have done the same thing if he knew what it was like. But, like, at the end of the day, it's going to take time. Last win for the Welsh was actually up against Georgia in the Rugby World Cup group stages. It's up, Hamish, says Michael. Welcome in. And come on, Kimbra, says Kerno. But we've got to remember this Welsh side, even though they've had their struggles, and even though, of course, that was with the old side, but they were still in the Rugby World Cup quarterfinals. So, like, Catlin already looks stressed in the coaching box. He just never looks like he wants to be there. Is it South Africa's last game next weekend? It certainly is. Last game for a lot of teams next weekend in the rugby schedule. One moment, we will go like that. There we go. So these are all the games that we get to see next week. Now, of these games, we are hoping to cover probably France versus Argentina, depending on the starting time of my cricket. Ireland versus Fiji, we will be covering. Wales versus South Africa, and Italy versus New Zealand. So 3 games back-to-back in that regard. And then Scotland versus Australia. And then also England versus Japan. So it's going to be a pretty busy weekend next week. We haven't been too bad so far this weekend, only covering the 4 games in total, including this one, which has actually felt pretty breezy compared to some of the past weekends that we have done on the channel. But we will show the starting lineups once again. First of all, for not France. I don't think they are playing in this contest. Wales, there we go. Gareth Thomas, Dewey Lake, and Archie Griffin in the front row. Will Rowlands and Adam Beard in the locking joy with James Botham, Jack Morgan, and Aaron Wainwright as the number 8. Bevan and Anscombe will be the 9-10 combination. We saw Thomas Williams in there last week. But now these two, all the voices already going, but these two will be the starting 9 and 10. Ben Thomas and Llewellyn in the midfield. They need a really solid performance here. Blair Murray out on one wing, Tom Rogers out on the other, and then Cameron Winnett at number 15. Now, Blair Murray last week had a really strong game up against the Fijians. Just a shame that they weren't quite able to get the job done. Now looking through at Australia's starting lineup, Angus Bell, Matt Faisler, and Alan Alatoa as the number 3. Nick Frost and the return of Will Skelton at number 5. Siru Uru to start at 6 with Fraser McWright and Rob Valentini as the number 8. Nick White at 9 with Noel Alessio at the number 10 jersey. Samu Karevi returns for his milestone match at number 12 with Len Ekatau on the outside, and then Max Jorgensen, who scored the last minute try up against the English last week in that starting side. Andrew Callaway and also Tom Wright. Those are the starting 15s, ladies and gentlemen. And this game very close to taking place. We have just got the Welsh national anthem, and we have got the All Blacks versus France was awesome, says Toilet Smithy, and also we have got Wales a dual win, says Stefan, and Annie Jones at Wales would not work, but it would be fun to watch, says Granted. This is a hard one. We want both Aussie and Wales to improve and start winning games. Yeah, it's one of those situations you almost want both sides to win, but sadly they can't, and a draw almost doesn't benefit either. Like, a draw wouldn't be a bad thing. It would be better than either side losing, but they both need a win here. So it makes it very difficult. And hi, how are you today? Says Yako, welcome in. Hope you are doing well. When the 4 Jones retired, Wales went down. Says, was there from World Cup twice. Let's go the Aussie, says Toilet Smithy. DuPont looked out of depth up against Roygaard, 2 very similar players, but DuPont came right when Roygaard came off, says Toilet Smithy. And easy on the VOD game as well, says MTYC. And why sounding like RFK today? We have done quite a bit of talking over the weekend. I mentioned how it was a slightly lighter weekend, but it still involved about maybe 6 hours of talking in a row yesterday. So, yeah, the voice is always going to struggle just that little bit. I'm looking forward to seeing this back 3. Murray out on the left, Tom Rogers out on the right, and then Cameron Winnett at 15. It's a young 3 for the Welsh. And I feel like, there's got to be some sort of combinations being built. Definitely before the game next week up against South Africa. That is going to be the trickiest one, I believe, for Wales all throughout the November internationals. I would rather lose now than next World Cup, so I'm not too fussed about it. Says Toilet Smithy, is New Zealand number 3? That is correct. So it does go South Africa, Ireland, New Zealand at the moment in the overall rankings, which is pretty much, in terms of like the start of November, New Zealand were 3rd anyway. It was that battle between Ireland and South Africa for the first, but New Zealand can still get up there next week depending on the next results that we do see. Box yesterday were okay, not playing the expansive game that Coach Brown is supposed to be teaching them, says Stefan. That is true to a certain extent, but I think it was also playing to the conditions and playing like the tactics that worked at the time up against the English, because England, they didn't necessarily play that kicking game too often. But then saying that, the Box tried it, but I think that, as good of a game as Grant Williams had, he also was kicking too deep, which meant that it wasn't really that contestable for the Springboks. The amount of times Freddie Stewart had a free jump at the ball, which you can't afford to have when that man is as good as he is at being able to get under the high ball. So, little mistakes were being made out there on the field, but overall still a 9-point win over the English. I don't think many people would be hugely disappointed about how that game went. And then heading into their next week's game up against Wales, I think we're going to see a completely different team. So, see how that goes for them as well. Always had a soft spot for Wales. Alwyn Jones is a really good guy. There's Jane, and congrats on 60k subs, mate. Seems like only last week you reached 50k. The progress is amazing. 10 out of 10. Says Sebastian in there. Thank you very much, mate. It's great to have you back again. And this is now going to be kicked off and slapped back by the Wallabies, who have got themselves the early position in this matchup. And Nick White going across to Angus Bell. But Seb, I see Romania played. I can't remember whether or not they won. They might have had a close win, didn't they? The Romanians for this weekend. We had it up before, but there were like 15 games that all got shown. And good luck to both teams, but come on, Wales, says Jazzing Panda. Nicely taken down there, Tom Wright. At the moment, just building phases up to 6 already, won 35-27 against the Canadians. I think they won last week too, didn't they, Seb? They might be 2 from 2 at the moment for November. Andrew Callaway, nice backline movement here, coming for the Wallabies. Max Jorgensen cuts back on the inside. Australia moving up to 25 metres out from the line. Big run from Will Skelton. Of course, it's hard to drag down, but Jack Morgan got onto a tree trunk of a leg and just hung on to it to drag him down. Now, Nick White almost a little knock on in the breakdown there. Sami Karevi with a short ball across to Fraser McWright. White again goes across to Angus Bell. 12 phases in a row at the moment here for the Wallabies. A great start with the ball in hand. Wales looking for their turnover. Adam Beard almost got it. In fact, it was both them. There was the little knock on the ground. Wales will now have it. The scrum box, in my opinion, don't benefit much from Tony's ball. Or from Tony Brown, I assume that's supposed to be, as expansive skills aren't aligned with the Springboks DNA. There's Toilet Schmitty. And good luck to both teams, but come on, Wales. And the rest of TMO really need to pull their socks up to see this kind of mistakes they make. Getting the calls wrong every weekend is not good, says Nazim. And sadly, it's been the case since that World Cup. In fact, it's been the case from before the World Cup. And, sadly, it is just the reality now that sides have to pretty much have about 6 points lenience with the referees, which sounds really weird to say, but there's certain decisions in games that aren't going to go teams' ways, and both sides in most contests are getting the bad rub of the green. So, it just pushes those players to go a little bit harder to try and mitigate the amount of impact that a referee can have on the game. Wales, I'm a second team in the PS2 days. Says, cool story, bro. I'm disappointed with the kick and hope for the best. Seems to be in favour again. Fuff the Clerk special, says Stefan. But yeah, I just think that Williams, or at least Marty Libok as well at times, they were just kicking too deep. They were hoping that England would make the mistake, but they had to put some pressure on them. And even when they did, Freeman was great under the high ball as well. But Freddie Stewart at the back defensively wasn't the best, but in terms of being able to get up and catch the ball, it was exactly why he got put in that starting side. And to his credit, he did that part of his game very well. Do you think Wales should let go of Warren Gatland if Wales lose today? They come last in the Six Nations and there is not a hope. They'll beat South Africa, says Zero Connection. I think they're in that same scenario as we've seen for quite a few Australian coaches over the last decade, which is, at the moment, a coach might make a bit of a difference, right? But like Michael Hooper said, he actually summed it up very well in the pre-match. He said the coach can only do what he can up until Friday. Then it's up to the players on Saturday. And yes, this game's taking place on Sunday, so I'm not sure whether or not that quite works, but that's all right. He's a bit of a goat in the Australian rugby world, Michael Hooper. So you're in that situation that the players have to be making the decisions out there on the field. They have to be getting things right. A coach can't help the handling errors that we've seen from Wales lately. That's a great backline movement, though. They're up to the halfway line now. Chance out wide for Tom Rogers. Getting held up by Max Jorgensen. And it's called as a maul. Will Skelton's on him. That ball's not coming out. And Grant Williams is good, but not the best in the world, says Toilet Smitty. And we have got there, our ref was pretty good in the All Blacks game. The main problem was the TMO. They shouldn't have that much influence over the game at all. Also, we need captains' challenges in World Rugby. We do to a certain extent, but at the same time, they don't want to slow down the game. Like, they were all, like last World Cup, we were already at the stage, some games were taking 2 hours to take place, which isn't what World Rugby want. They want it to be fast-paced, but then at the same time, they are allowing TMOs to take a few minutes when they want to make their decisions. So it's finding that happy medium that you don't completely slow it down. I mean, we're seeing scrums at the moment. They're supposed to have that 30-second time period. My first month, we had like 9K subs. How time flies, says Sebastian, with his 39th month of channel membership. Geez, you've gone past the 3 years. You're going to be closing on the 4 before we know it. Nice cross kick attempted from Australia, but well cleaned up by Wales out on that wing by the youngster Liam Murray. Some would have seen him at the Crusaders a little while ago, then went to Wales for the Scarlets. Got himself now internationally capped. Totally agree with Captain's Challenge, says Jan. And here I'll bunker the Captain's Challenge, says JD. But then we've also got to remember with rugby, like one of the biggest things we've noticed about the referees is the last thing that they want in terms of World Rugby, they don't want referees to be seen as making wrong decisions. We've seen it all the way through in terms of you're not allowed to criticise the referee if you're a coach, if you're a player, if you're a support staff, if you're in any means attached to rugby, you're not allowed to say that the referee made a wrong choice or else you get yourself sanctioned and in trouble. So Captain's Challenge would prove, in most cases, how poor refereeing is currently, which is the last thing World Rugby want. They want a bit of protection for their referees. And, you know, if it means that certain sides lose by 1 or 2 points in a bad decision, they are willing to make that risk so that their referees don't get the full brunt of it. But now kicked him behind from Wales, down to the 22, Tom Wright waiting for it. He's got a long boot. So we'll sink the slipper into it. Doesn't find touch with it though. Cameron Winnett looking across the field. For the up and under, looks like it will be. Tom Rogers chasing it, but can't quite take it cleanly back into the hands of Australia. Samu Karevi has to play half. Cross to Bell. Tries to run away from Aaron Wainwright, and he's actually managed to evade him. Now White back across to the left-hand side to Samu Karevi again. Good low tackle made by Morgan. Wales not able to contest. And we have good there. Congratulations on 60k, dude, says Scott David George. Thank you very much, mate. And players to take more accountability in clean rugby contests. We don't need a TMO, says David. Kind of like the NRL. Have 2 captains challenge per team for the whole game would be ideal, says Toilet Smithy. And I put issues with England and Welsh to the players, not the coaches, says Sean O'Farrell. Do you think the AB store has been a success? I mean, of course, depending on what happens next week could really determine that. But overall, I'd say yes. Like, not many people expected them to be England and Wales. And Ireland. And you're also in that scenario that heading into November, some people said 3 from 5. Some people said, you know, maybe 2 from 5. And maximum people were saying was 4 from 5. So the All Blacks have the opportunity to get there. And they've learnt a lot, I guess, but still pretty similar selections to the Rugby Championship to a certain extent. And agree, Sebastian joined at 12k 4 years later, says Blues Nate in there as well. With a 29-month membership. I definitely need to look at a new badge, don't I, for the really far down the line. Like either the 4 or the 5 years, which is crazy to think that that's how long we've almost been going. TMO are the real ref, says Toilet Smithy. No, I think TMO have way too much influence and have been ruining the flow of our game. And we have got the Rasi knows about criticising ref. Exactly right. You know, I mean, not all coaches are going to make a 1 hour long video about them, but like, it's still the same. Like, you get sanctioned whether you say something that's 1 second long going, oh, ref a bit dodgy or something like that, and then you're gone. They get rid of you. Are they bringing in Captain's Challenge just like the NRL? Why is that? Says Daniel. Has it been confirmed that they're going to bring in Captain's Challenge? I haven't heard that they will yet. It's just something that people want to see. And by the way, congratulations on your 60k subs. Thank you very much, Daniel. Now, Hamish says, Shay, welcome in. Would you say France is definitely the best team? Would you say it was just the way it went on the night? Says on the right. I think they, like, the French, when they get that ball in hand, they can be extremely dangerous. And, like, at home as well, at the Stade de France, like, it's always going to be an environment. It's always going to be tough. So I think New Zealand, to lose by 1, they won't be huge. Like, they'll be disappointed, but it could have been much worse. Like, we've seen sides go to the Stade de France and lose by 15 to 20 before. But New Zealand was not one of them. I also missed one of yours earlier on the right. I do apologise. Did you watch Ed Chase's Rugby channel? I actually, believe it or not, I would if I did watch kind of a lot of YouTube. I just don't get the chance to really watch any. I think the last time I watched like a proper YouTube video that was more than maybe 2 minutes long, probably like a month or so, which is a shame because I used to watch a lot of it. We got Robert there as well, member for 19 months. In the chat, will you change your format on the channel come the Rugby World Cup 2027? Honestly, I'm not too sure. Like, at the moment, our format, it's not, like, broken in any way. And I feel like, yes, people like to see little switches and whatnot, but currently it's the formula that's working for us. I feel like we got a nice setup in some regards. Like, it's very basic. It's a scoreboard next to us. It's us with a green screen. But it means that I can do a live stream from anywhere. I'm not kind of... Like, I don't have to take a fancy laptop with me to go somewhere or anything like that. Now, currently, the rolling maul, it has gone down here, and it doesn't look like it's going to come out the back door for Wales, which means Australia will get themselves a scrum. Currently 9 minutes in to this one. Still 0-0 between the two teams. Southern Hemisphere all day, every day, says Skamaru. A lot of Aussies got some fresh and dodgy haircuts. Angus Bell is especially bad, says Bill. The thing is, though, in Australia, that's considered good. Like, the mullet has made a real comeback in Australia, the short sides. And, yeah, it's kind of like that line to see how, I want to say how straight, but how wonky you can get it is also a bit of a trend that we've seen. I think World Rugby is going to bring some, says Daniel, and congrats on 60k subs. And fantastic channel, thanks, guys, says Brian. Thank you very much. And we have got there, now we need to see ABs versus France actually in New Zealand because the last 3 outings have been at home for them. And the sad thing is they're going to more than likely send over a B or a C team to New Zealand. So even if they manage to do extremely well up against France, like, people will still discredit it. So you're in a tricky scenario there. Are you going on holiday? Says Soraya. When we talking? And Tom Wright, Nights inside border. Max Jorgensen, offload on the inside to Karevi. He's going to be a metre short. In fact, he's going to fall over the line on his back. And that is going to be the goal line dropout, I should say. We've got there from Jada Young. He said, turn the game Eon. Eon, sounding like a donkey here, Jada. We have got there Grant Williams is the best halfback. DuPont, multi-skilled by Hotham. Oh, but Hotham is a general, says Mumbo Jumbo Kiwi. And Wales are going to get smashed, says Rory. And do you do this full-time, Hamish? I do not know. This is only the hobby on the weekends, full-time work during the week. And then just managed to squeeze in enough time to do the streams as well. So yeah, it's been a busy 12 months in terms of live streaming on YouTube. I couldn't tell you how many we've done, but it's certainly quite a few in the last little while. We have got there, let's see. Oh, let's go, Aussie. Don't make it 2 losses for the Southern Hemisphere. And yeah, the French will never send their best team to New Zealand. Oh, we've got another stoppage here by the sounds of it. Now, we've already seen a bit of an injury. Okay, clearly knocked out. They need to check Six's head here. I believe that is going to be... Yeah, Rob Valentini putting in the big hit. James Botham. He looks like he's all right, but not at all. What is captain's challenge? Pretty much it's when you can say to the referee, in the simplest terms, we think you've made the wrong decision. We want you to check it. When Suali'i on, says Jada. I like how you went from your last one to just a normal question now. Probably, I would say last 20 minutes or so is when Suali'i will get that opportunity. But yeah, there's Rob Valentini, just runs him down. And yeah, Botham's eyes kind of went wide open, which is where they feel like he wasn't in the best way. Go Australia, says Kirsty. And who, in your opinion, has been the best Autumn Nation Series player? See, an individual player is very tricky because the likes of South Africa, right, they've gone with 2 very different teams, so it makes it hard to judge them compared to a side that have used the same player twice type of thing. Like, in terms of New Zealand, you'd still probably look at someone like a Satiti, what he did up against Japan, if that counts, even though it was in October, plus a couple big games up against England and Ireland. But, like, in terms of other sides, see, Australia have only played one game, so that's hard to judge. Like, Kasuali got man of the match, but I wouldn't say he has been the greatest player across the whole November, so it's a tricky one. Ask me again, I'd say, at the end of next week, and I'll have a much better answer, just because we would have seen more minutes for certain players by then. We should build a second division only XV, says Mumbo Jumbo Kiwi now. Nice run forward from Andrew Callaway. I mean, we just see England versus Australia in the XV sides going up against each other. Now rounding. We're trying to go round the back there for Andrew Callaway. They are 22 metres out from the line here. The Australians, great low tackle made by Gareth Thomas. Who do you want to win, says Kirsty? I just hope both of them end up having a really strong game. And it's one of those scenarios that I don't really want either side to lose, but then they have to have a winner. Like, I don't think a draw benefits either of these teams. And someone needs a win under their belt, whether it's Warren Gatland or whether it is going to be Joe Schmidt. That ball is out the back of the rolling ball now, 25 metres out from the line here for Rob Valentini. Nick White back across to the right again. Nolalisio finds Angus Bell, who crashes through his opposition again. Aaron Wainwright trying to go for the strip, but can't quite get that ball. Nick White, inside ball from Ikitau. Goes to Matty Faisler. And who do you think? Oh no, I read that one. Satiti, I'd say for upcoming player of the year, says Rory. Definitely like breakout player of the year is on the cards for that man. I assume that someone like a Sasha Feinberg, Ngomez, well, he possibly hasn't played enough rugby. Like, I know that he's had a few games for the Springboks, but also not playing in November, I think, will hurt his chances a little bit, but he would certainly be somewhere up there. There's a few other youngsters for the Northern Hemisphere sides. Nice step from Tom Wright. He goes through, and that'll be the first try of the match for the Wallabies after 16 phases. Managing to get the try. I respect that's a proper rugby fan, supporting no one. Only a good game says destroying dumb people. But that's the thing, like, it's so hard to pick. And I feel like everyone's got that little bit of a soft spot for both of these teams. Like, a lot of people enjoy to dislike Australia, but at the same time, they haven't liked seeing them struggle in the last decade of their rugby. Can you see the Springboks playing in the Six Nations in 2 or 3 years' time? Says Neil, not really, to be honest. Like, it's one of those ones that, like, it's a touchy subject for a lot of people in that regard, because there's obviously two sides of the fence, which is you either really want the Springboks to join, and then there's the ones who are really against it. Like, I don't think it would be right to take away any Six Nations side that are currently in there, because Italy, I think they're improving quite a bit in recent times. Yes, they had a close game up against the Georgians, but let's just say, for instance, that was a knockout game to determine who got to be in the Six Nations this year. Once again, Italy getting themselves the victory. But you're in that situation of, you know, so many supporters of South Africa I have seen has said that the Six Nations would be easy, right? But, you know, with the exception of the Rugby Championship that South Africa won this year, they found it pretty tricky to win the Rugby Championship over the last decade or so. So I would think that the harder competition is the Rugby Championship, so surely you want to push yourself to beat what is considered, in some people's opinions, the best. So, yeah, it's an interesting one. I get the time zone side of things, though, but at the same time, like, yeah, I don't see them making a switch anytime soon. Love the dedication, lads, says Arcade of Dreams. And Hamish is a fence sitter. I certainly am. We need captain's challenges, catches the refs and TMO out on their bias calls. That is true, but like I said earlier on, I don't think World Rugby would be happy to have that happen, because one thing that they've tried to make, like, the whole way through is that you're not allowed to criticise a ref even if they make a bad decision. Wales got the wooden spoon this year, not Italy. So there's Andre there. Exactly right. So, yeah, I feel like, yeah, I don't see them changing it for a while, because I don't see it becoming the 7 nations or the 8 nations or anything like that. I can see the Rugby Championship eventually going to 6 teams, maybe, with Japan and maybe Fiji getting added in. But for now, I think it's locked in for a bit longer. Bok have no place in the Six Nations. Says Stefano, I should mention that kick missed from the try of Tom Wright, so the score still remaining at 5-0 after 15 minutes. Now back across to the right-hand side. Big attack and run from Will Rowlands. And we have got there from Farut a little bit earlier on. Looks like your channel and subscribers and viewers is on the way up. I'm impressed. Good stuff, bro. Thank you very much and greatly appreciate it. I've just realised it's not Farut, it's Far Out, I would say. Colby is Player of the Year, says Chris. And Quade Cooper try. Oh, I mean, he's not playing in this game. I tell you who is. Nick Frost. And he's got a lot of pace and the line break for the Australians. They will get themselves the second try in very quick succession. I tell you, I agree that all teams are World Cup contenders, even Italy, Portugal, and Japan are just showing that they can. I mean, there are certain sides that on their given day can actually push sides in the top 10. Portugal can be one of them. They've just struggled at times, but like at the end of the day, I feel like the world of rugby at the moment is getting closer and closer with the fact that pretty much anyone inside of that top 10 on a good day can almost beat anyone else in that top 10. So it's great to see. Definitely in about that top 6 or 7 on any given day, they can get themselves victories against each other. They keep the door closed for Georgia, etc. The Six Nations as always, says Sean. Yeah, like in the nicest way like possible, I think it would be extremely rough if they added South Africa to the Six Nations before any chance for Georgia to join it. Seeing as Georgia, I mean, they've been wanting to get in there, but whether or not they do is a different story. But yeah, if they pretty much said, you know, we're not going to give Georgia the chance, but we're going to grab South Africa from the Southern Hemisphere, like, I think a lot of people would be upset. The score down 12-0 with the kick going over from Nololesio, just the ball being stripped from the Welsh. It almost looked like it could have been close to a knock-on from Callaway there. And no game at the moment. Says Chris McIntyre, currently 17 minutes in, and it is 12-0. Nick Frost just getting through to score that try like we mentioned. We were just waiting for the kick, which they have now kicked off. Valena Cattell taking that one 24 metres out from his line. Nick White looks like they're going to go for another attack and play here for the Wallabies. Tom Wright goes to Samu Karevi. He's done very well to regather it after having a bit of a fumble. Max Jorgensen sends it downfield. Brassey's plan is to play in both Six Nations and the Rugby Championship. But then, like, I get why you'd want to, but at the same time, we've already seen that some of the URC sides from South Africa aren't happy with the heavy, like, amount of, like, travelling and the heavy amount of game time that they've had with the Champions Cup involved and the Curry Cup, etc. So adding an extra, what would it be, 5 extra games or 6 extra games on top of that, like, there will be more injuries, so, but then saying that when he's trying 50 players a year, it's probably not the end of the world if you lose a few due to injury. But, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I don't think it will be anytime soon anyway. I don't see it happening before the next World Cup. And Bok will never be in the Six Nations, says Neville. Another penalty going the way of the Australians. It's time for just falling off the feet in the breakdown from Wales. Is it a coincidence you're wearing both sweat jackets? Is it colder outside the planet? Is it a coincidence you both wearing sweat jackets? It's colder outside the planet. We both. Who's the other guy wearing it? Like, as in you? Or I mean, I've got one on. It's got Tonga. It kind of looks like I'm supporting Wales. I didn't watch the stream of Argentina-Ireland. Do you think the last call was legitimate? Says Katzenell. I mean, it is one of those ones that, like, you can nitpick at any decision that's made in a game of rugby. But I also think back to what I saw when Ireland were down to 14 and Argentina had a man advantage and they were straight out in front of the post, down by 6, and they decided to take 3 and then attempt a drop kick not that long after rather than attacking, trying to score a try and win the game. So, in my opinion, like, whether that decision at the end or any of the decisions in the last 5 or so minutes, referee-wise, went their way or went against them, they still didn't play like a side that actually wanted to win at the end of the day. They played like a side who were hoping to breeze by and maybe get towards a draw with a chance of winning, but I never saw pure aggression and pure passion to win that game from Argentina in those closing moments. I like your hoodie, Brody. Is it a New Zealand rugby hoodie? It is not. It is a Rugby League, there we go, Rugby League World Cup hoodie for Tonga. Pretty much at the end of the Rugby League World Cup, I bought a whole heap of random teams' jerseys because they were like $10 each rather than $80. So I've got Tonga, I've got Cook Islands, I've got France as well. Are you looking forward to Wallabies Lions next year? I am. I think it's going to be very interesting to see how that tour goes. Definitely if Australia are slowly improving, but they will be 5 metres out from the line here with the line out for the Aussies. So a really good position on the field to be able to go on and possibly get themselves a try here. Matt Faisler ready to throw this ball in. Now getting ready for this rolling maul. Right now, Nick White is able to join the back of the rolling maul. It's going to be well controlled here from Australia, and Faisler goes down and scores the try. Their third in about maybe 7-8 minutes. It's definitely changed the momentum of this game, but we have seen Australia be up by this margin before. They were up against Argentina, and they were up by 20 to then go on to lose that game by about 30 or 40 points. Our referee's hiding for the media, or from the media. They should be interviewed for their stupid amateur calls. Says JD. Without Juan Cruz Malia would be barbecue. Says Gatsanel and Australia might put 80 on them. And also we have good there. It's 5:35 in Norway, says Mumbo Jumbo Kiwi and Aussie. Says Daniel and Osick. Yeah, I got a whole heap of random stuff, to be honest. Like I got Rugby League, just rugby balls. I think they were $3 each, so I have ones with Scotland and Wales and whatnot written on them. They're still in a box, but I think I got about 7 rugby balls for $20 or $21. But, yeah, I haven't used them, so probably not a good use of money, to be fair. That kick has gone over from Nolalicio, and that is now going to make the score in this contest 19 points to 0. Wales used to be so good. Shane Williams was in the team, says Arcade Dream, and Australia are notorious for close games after shocking second halves. Says Katzenau, hello mate. Says Blesham, welcome in. Hope you are keeping well. Scoreline not the best at the moment for you, of course, but the comeback's on. If Georgia improved discipline, even if some of the calls against them were wrong, and the fitness, they'll be a proper threat to the Tier 1 teams outside of the top 4 or 5. There's going to be the knock-on from Tom Wright, so once again, we will get to see Wales on attack. Hasn't happened too often throughout this game, but Alanara Toa will force them backwards and they'll go back for the scrum. A box of balls. There's MTYC. And don't throw Dupont away. He played for 25 minutes in the second test. The French tour in South Africa in 2017. Says Neville. Wales are more consistent team in the world, or most consistent team in the world. Maybe losses, but it's still consistent. Says destroying dumb people. Yeah, 10 in a row at the moment. And they've got a huge amount of criticism. But Wallabies, or sorry, not the Wallabies, England at the moment are on a 5-match losing streak. But they're just lucky that Wales have got a longer losing streak that people talk about more. When did you last stream a top 14 team? Says Gatsanel, it's been a little while, but the biggest problem has been that they stopped showing top 14 here in New Zealand. It's the same with the Curry Cup. They stopped showing it for about 1.5 years. And then when we finally decided we would do a Curry Cup game, even though it was in the schedule, they didn't actually show it. So I think a few of you guys were here for that stream that I pretty much talked for 15 minutes saying, hello, sorry everyone, but they've no longer got the game on there. They're instead showing some tennis. Now, it's an advantage at penalty time, or at least at scrum time here for the Welsh, so they have got a chance to throw everything at it. It's going out wide to Blair Murray. He is explosive when it comes to his acceleration. Bevan goes across to Aaron Wainwright. They're only 5 metres out for the line now. I think there's another advantage for a high tackle. Archie Griffin getting within 2 metres of the try line. Bevan trying to find that flat pass straight to Gareth Thomas. He's been flattened out just short of the try line. Now Wainwright spins and he gets it down. It was awkward. It was scrappy, but the Welsh have got straight back onto the sheet. Who's hosting the next World Cup? Australia in 2027. 2031, I think, is the USA, if I am correct. England need to change it back to Twickenham. says destroying dumb people, and Wallace Satiti for New Zealand Player of the Year. He's got to be right up there. Like, I don't see anyone else who has made that same impact as Wallace Satiti, and I keep mentioning it, which I don't know if people are annoyed about by now, but honestly, if Ethan Blackadder didn't get injured, Satiti could have been like Billy Proctor and had only played maybe 2 games by now. And, like, that's not even a joke. Like, if Blackadder was still there and Razor had his way, it would have been Blackadder 6, Sam Cane 7, Artie Savia number 8. And that's what it would have remained all throughout the November internationals. That's what it would have been for a majority of the Rugby Championship. So Satiti, like, to his credit, he made a big impact in that first game that he got to come in and replace Ethan Blackadder. And with that, managed to secure a jersey, because honestly, we could have still been waiting to see him get some decent minutes, which is kind of crazy to think that sometimes all it takes is one chance to then become a mainstay, because I don't see them sacking Satiti out of the team for a good, like, I don't see it happening in the next 5 years with the way he's currently playing. I was at Loftus when Wales lost 96-13. Wales had big problems again. Says Anthony, Hamish, will you be coming over for the Rugby World Cup 2027? Not too sure yet. I'd like to. I just don't know whether or not, like, I'll be able to, if that makes sense. Like, last World Cup, we did work during a majority of it. And, like, alongside that, like, we were doing some hectic hours on the weekend. Like, there were times, I think for one weekend, we stayed up for about 50 hours straight doing about 8 games of commentary, which was pretty brutal. But, like, hopefully we can get some more sleep throughout the next one, plus the decent time zones. I should mention, that's actually going to be extremely lovely. We're going to be able to sleep at night time. So maybe we'll see what happens, because I'll still be able to work a little bit alongside it. Save up, perhaps. That's going to be chipped in behind. Leonard Cattell not quite able to take it cleanly. Had a knock on. So it will now be the scrum to the Welsh. We're already 27 minutes through this game. It is 19 points to 7. Damn, that brutal, Hamish. Says Blues Nate. Yeah, that last World Cup, it was a brutal one, but we managed to get through it. We just put the head down and got to work. Obviously, South Africa currently, they've lost to them 4 times in a row. Says 9HD. And there's a crew of around a dozen of us coming from the US in 2027. And it will be an awesome tour. Like, Australia weather's pretty nice. So many videos today on what went wrong for the ABs versus France. As the penalties conceded, the main reason, says Xander. Yeah, I mean, they're ill-disciplined near the end of the game, and the handling as well. It's been the thing throughout the whole, like, yeah. It's been the situation the whole way through for New Zealand this year anyway. But, like, at the same time, there were certain things New Zealand did really well, and sometimes it is just there was a better side, and that was France. Like, I know we titled our review What Went Wrong for the All Blacks, but that's just because, like, anytime you praise the opposition, in this scenario anyway, like, you get more hate. So, like, we're trying to avoid getting hated at times, if we can. Your success is partially due to mainstream commentators being boring and biased, says on the right. Yeah, the amount of people in the early days of us starting the channel that would say we're watching you with the TV on mute because the commentators have annoyed me. Like, that's something that we've heard many, many times. I was watching you during the World Cup. Came a time you wanted to sleep, but you stayed strong for us viewers. That's why you're the man, says Daniel there. But now it's going to be Angus Bell, who has been penalised at the scrum time, collapsing it. Yeah, I don't know how we got through every single game of that last World Cup. Like, there were times that I was like, oh, I could take, like, certain matches off. Like, I think there was one between, I want to say it was Georgia and Portugal, I think it was. And I was thinking, I could sleep during this time. And then I was just like, nah, we're doing it. Might as well. So, yeah, it's a lot of hours worth, but worth it in the end. I think Hamish forgot who I was. Says Toilet Smithy. I did not. I haven't been on the channel in ages. Although, of course, you still got your, like, non-original name, I should say. Now, this would be a bit of a throwback if I can remember the original name. I feel like it was something... Was it something Jones involved in there? Like, I don't think it was Mike Jones, was it? Was it Mike Jones? If it was Mike Jones, I've done extremely well. I also listened to your commentary instead, says MTYC. Oh, that's jumping over the breakdown there from Australia. And that's another penalty, this time going against Siruru. Mike Jones. Are you laughing because it's wrong? I can't, because you've been Toilet Smithy for so long, and I can't remember why you changed it. Something happened, and then you switched it, and it was only going to be for a brief amount of time, and it's still changed. Because if you can't destroy block forwards, and geez, what a great memory. Was it actually Mike Jones? Yeah, I don't know where I pulled that from. We've seen thousands of names in the chat, but some of you original guys on the channel, like anytime they pop in, like I saw Rio Gamer, yeah, it was Mike Jones Sr. Well, there we go. And you haven't had that name for a good, at least 2 years, I would say. But yeah, like some of you original guys who pop in, I still remember the names. You know, Rio Gamer we saw, I still ask him about how his truck went that he bought about 3 years ago. And Rio Gamer says Toilet Smithy there. We'll see who it is. Just flush it. Says Blues Nate. I'm from South Africa. Says Loot Lama Finn Jr. I remember when Rio Gamer dropped a massive tip. Yep. I think that was on the Moana Pacifica versus Samoa stream. I believe it. Oh, no, it might have been Samoa versus someone, but one of those real original games. It might have actually been Moana Pacifica's first ever game. And that was 4 years or so ago, I think. Stands for Fortnite. Okay. I see. I'm not really hip. To be fair, that one has gone over from Wales. They've decided to take the 3 points while they're on offer, straight out in front. Do you remember learning in real time where Colorado was? I do. And at one point, I actually could name most of the US states. I don't think my brain would let me do it now, unfortunately. Perhaps that will be the task for after the stream. We try and name all the US states and see how we go. But now, nice step from Cameron Winnett. Now, Bevan, going back across to this left-hand side. The Springboks will be a walk in the park against Wales next week, says Adele. What has happened to Wales? Dreading the Six Nations got out Wales. Says Luan. Yeah, it's a tricky one. Because, like, oh, that's a good take, I should say. Like, they still do some things really well. I think that's the most frustrating thing for Warren Gatland, because at times Wales look like a world-class side, and then at other times they just don't, in the nicest way possible. But now, nice backline here. Gone out to the left-hand side, Llewellyn, hitting the ball up. Under penalty advantage again here. Australia's discipline starting to let them down, but 10 unanswered points by the Welsh here in the last maybe about 5 to 10 minutes. Ardencom debut next week, hopefully. Have you slept yet, says Tomo? I managed to get like 4 hours of sleep, I think. So what ended up happening was yesterday after the last stream, I was going to sleep. Or I was about to sleep anyway, and then I got a message from one of the other Kiwi lads, George, and he said, it's a good day for golf. So me, George, and Daniel, another one of the Kiwi lads, we all went out and played 9 holes of golf. Then from there, we kind of went, oh, the UFC's on soon. So we ended up watching that, and then that took me right through to about 7:30 p.m. New Zealand time. And then after that, edited for a bit, and then I think I got to sleep at like 11 p.m., which wasn't ideal, but we're awake now. It's a good thing Australia are back. Possession in the last 10 minutes, 79% in favour of the Welsh compared to the 21% that we've seen in favour of Australia. Bro, John Jones versus Stipe was trash. It sadly was. And, like, that's the thing. John Jones, he looked dominant, but at the same time, Stipe just looked like that long layoff for him, unfortunately, was the difference. We have Grand Pass fighting this weekend. But at least we saw John Jones say he's not quite done yet. The money's right, he might fight Tom Aspinall. Hopefully that does happen, but that one's going to be kicked over. Another 3 points up to 19-13. So 13 unanswered points now in a row. And Vishnua said Jones is a legend, no doubt. You see, that main card overall, like, I think that was the only fight that didn't have a decision. And then, like, the first one with Rufy, he was supposed to win easily, but then the other guy was just tough as nails and didn't want to go down. And then second fight, Araujo, I actually picked her to win, so I was quite happy about that. Like, not with betting or anything, just picked her to win that fight, which she did. But then that one went 15 minutes. Then the third one was Paul Craig and Bo Nickel, and they got booed pretty much the whole 15 minutes. Now kicked high. Waiting for this one to come down. Nicely taken by Nololisio. Short ball to Andrew Callaway. Once again, Wales getting in the breakdown, trying to get that turnover. They were to get themselves another penalty. They'd only be out of this game by 3 points. Bit of a juggle there from Samu Karevi again. Still 3-1. Says on the right. We have got there Jones is a legend, but Aspinall is next in line. That's the thing though. Like Jones looked savage. Like, and I don't use that word very often, and you probably understand why. It didn't sound very cool, did it? But like he was just beating Stipe up. And yes, Stipe wasn't really defending himself at times, but those elbows just slicing and dicing. I don't know how Stipe didn't get cut open earlier, to be honest, because those elbows were rough. Rufy is a good prospect, very Conor McGregor-like movement. Says Vishnu, that is true, yeah. He just, like, he had the guy hurt and he just couldn't finish him off, unfortunately. Which then, I mean, led to a more entertaining fight, I think, the fact that the other fella was able to hang in there. Oh, that ball almost popping out the side for the Welsh in the breakdown, 45 metres out. Another good run forward, Elliot, a solid bro. I watched him in Cage Warriors. Says at Toilet. It's going to be kicked high, waiting for this one to come down. Once again, great under the high ball. Out on that wing from Tom Rogers. Ball is there. Christ Chinza. Ooh, it's going to be the penalty. And a double blow of the whistle here, TMO. Something seems bad. James Dolman will be checking this one to see whether or not there was something serious enough. Sounds like 2 for a dangerous clean out. Is that against Dewey Lake or maybe Matt Fazer? One of the two, as this rugby commentary says, Dally, a little bit. But now, we're going to be checking this one. That actually looks like Gareth Thomas. Here we go. Oh. Okay, there's a little tiny bit of head contact on Samu Karevi. More fingers in the eyes than John Jones by the looks of it for that one. Just didn't quite get the timing right, Gareth Thomas, trying to clean out Karevi, who really wasn't in a position to defend himself, which, yeah, no, he got a bit of a finger in the mouth hole. Bo Nickel is an elite wrestler, but he's a snooze fest. Well, that's the thing. I think he wanted to prove himself up against Paul Craig that he could fight on the feet. But, like, he landed some good shots, but Paul Craig was just waiting for Bo Nickel to try and take him down, and he just never did. So, it's unfortunate. Drekas is good, but definitely not the best, says Toilet Smithy. And Drekas Duplessis is the best UFC fighter. Okay, they've said clearly no foul play. So it's going to be a scrum to the Welsh. That's a good decision there from... Okay, Nick White is yapping in the ear of James Dolman. But it's going to be the scrum going the way of the Welsh. So you don't like biscuits with gravy? What about mash and gravy like KFC, says Xander? I mean, they have got potato and gravy here. But like a biscuit in New Zealand is like a cookie though. So you got to remember, like dipping a cookie in gravy, like that's an interesting combo. Australia not trash anymore. Music to my ears, says John Owen. Yeah, they're going all right. They still show signs of a side that, like in the nicest way possible, can't defend. But they're doing a lot better than they were at the start of the year, I feel. You know, they're slowly starting to find that chemistry and a bit of structure. Bo Nickel versus DDP. Not yet, I don't think. I think, like Dana White said in the post-press conference, he said pretty much Bo Nickel's not ready yet. Like, he's only 7-0 at the end of the day. So I feel like if he can go on a winning streak of maybe 5 more wins up against top-level guys, then you look at him versus Drakus. But until then, I think Drakus would wipe the floor with him in the nicest way possible because Drakus can throw hands. And DDP also has got a little bit of that, like, wrestling defensive background type thing. So if he can stuff a couple Bo Nickel takedowns, then he's just gonna beat him up. DDP is seriously a wild card, says Mumbo Jumbo Kiwi. Fijian, but New Zealand and South Africa are still the best teams in the world, says Daniel there. A nice bit of covering at the back there from Max Jorgensen. And downfield from Tom Wright as well. Looks like a bit of a limping situation here for Tom Rogers, who has started this match so well throughout the first 37 minutes. Nicely taken by Siru Uru. Now across Nick White, short ball to Samu Karevi. They've done well to shut him down in this game so far, because we saw the one chance that they didn't, it actually goes through and help lead to the try. And I love Seth Paris. Hamzat beats DDP. Yeah, see, Hamzat's an interesting one, because everyone thought after his really long layoff that Whittaker would beat him, but then, like, Hamzat just went out there, broke Whittaker's jaw and said, yep, that's me done. So, like, we still haven't seen his gas tank recently tested. This is rugby or wrestling, says Vincent. A little bit of both, I would say, is the mix at the moment. Australia have got themselves the penalty advantage, and that is going to be another offside penalty against Wales. We'll be able to kick this one towards the touchline. Where will DDP fight next? I think it's going to be in Africa. I'm not sure about South Africa, but yeah, it would make sense to head to South Africa for that one. And that one's going to be against Archie Griffin from the breakdown. If DDP next fight is in South Africa, you must cover the fight, Hamish, says Vishnu. Well, that's the thing. Like, I've been watching the UFC for, like, consistently anyway, for probably longer than I've been watching rugby. So, like, I probably could. You know, we just haven't ended up doing it. Bro, we came here for the rugby. We're waiting for the game to get back underway. Currently waiting for the line out to start. Matt Faisler throws the ball in. Nicely taken by Siruru. Only 90 seconds remaining in this first half. Still 6 points difference between the two sides. Matt Faisler still got that ball in hand. Nick White slowly moving forward. We'll be told to use it again very soon, but gets it out the back to Samu Karevi once again. Tackled low by Gareth Fanscombe. Now to the left-hand side. Nick White with the show and go. Hangs on to it. Siruru. Down the side again. That looks like an ugly breakdown. Pretty much players just lying all over the place. Leonard Katau going back across to Samu Karevi again. Now Nick White. And the chopping tackle from Dewey Lake. 40 seconds left on the clock. Will Skelton, Australia wouldn't mind one more try for the end. I think like Cheslin or Kirtley. Say Luke Lama. You think like them. Like, as in, like, the way you play rugby, I assume. Nick Frost. Now again with the pick and go. Oh, he stayed on his feet there for a little bit longer and almost is going to become a rolling maul. In this case, both of them trying to get the turnover. In fact, this time it was Wainwright. Now Nick Frost. Calling the shots. Alongside Nick White. Back again. Ikatau. Still straight out in front. Dewey Lake leaves his feet, so isn't able to get the ball back there. It's best better Steph or Cheslin, says Tomo. If we're talking about, like, player of the year wise, I mean, better Steph Detoy is probably who I'd give it to if you were picking a South African guy. But I think Oxnechet also does deserve a lot of credit for what he's done. Beautiful offload from Tom Wright. Callaway chopped down. And that was swiped back by Australia. So, yeah, Wales will get themselves the penalty. More than likely, they'll kick this one into touch, and then they'll go into half-time. How many total tries have been scored already? So far, we've seen 1 from the Welsh and 3 from Australia, so 4 in total. I love Ox to win as a Kiwi. Doubt they'll give it to a prop, sadly. And Ox for the player of the year. And also, we've got there, Whittaker knows how to lose, bro. Up himself. Can't Kaikara France. I'll knock Rob. Says Blues Nate. Well, that's the thing. Now that he's broken his jaw as well, like, you don't know how much of an impact that will have on him moving forward, whether or not he's willing to keep on going. Did you see my comments from my other account, Riley Freeman? I do remember a Riley Freeman had that picture of, I don't know what the cartoon was, but it was a cartoon picture, wasn't it? Exciting game, electric so far. And with his ankle break against England, he needs it. Says Luke Lama, but that one now, half-time in this contest, 19 points to 13. I didn't realise Tyson Pedro wasn't with the UFC anymore. He's doing some sort of fight on stand, they've just shown for the Australians. So lame. They must give it to the Ruddy of Props, Ox. Says, good story, bro. And why can't we let our backs go this? Is horrible watch gets. Says Fleshin. And yeah, it's been a bit scrappy. I think Wales are actually doing pretty well to only be down by 6, though. Like, they were 19-0 down and somehow brought back 13 points. And in a time where Australia, like, there wasn't a lot of urgency during that little bit. No, Tyson retired. It was a financial decision, says Vishnu. Okay. Well, I guess that's the thing. There's so much money in boxing now, isn't there, in terms of doing super fights. So, like, he's probably making a lot of money for the boxing side of things there. And Bro Roygard is the goods. Played against him when we versed St. Pete's. I'm back in schoolboys. Says the toilet Smitty. And also against Ratami, he was ahead of Roygard during schoolboys since he played at Hamilton Boys. Says Toilet Smitty, and Jake Paul is better than Tyson. Are you talking about Mike Tyson or are you talking about Tyson Pedro? And Australia have massive front rowers and I love it. Big 4 backs win games. England take notes. Says John Doe on halftime topic, does anyone doing Christmas decorations this weekend? It's a good question. Wait, what weekend? Is it the last week of November you're supposed to do it? I'll be honest, if we end up doing anything Christmas-wise, like Christmas tree and whatnot, it'll probably go up on the 24th. And that's only if we have like people around on the 25th. We just seem so receptive to getting turned over. And when is Player of the Year announced? I'm not actually too sure of the exact date. I know that the nominees get announced extremely soon. I think it might be at the end of the November internationals that we do get to hear the Players of the Year nominations. What is Razor going to do next? That's a great question. It's going to be very hard to predict, but myself and Tim, we are filming in about an hour and a half deciding what Razor's going to do for his next lineup. So I haven't decided if I'm going full strength or whether I'm going experimental yet. 35-31 will be the final score bet. It's a bold prediction, but could be somewhere near it. And I feel like both sides, that's the thing. Like, both sides would have a lot that they have learnt from that game if they can both score over 30 points, but only one of the sides will get some sort of praise, and that will be the team that win. We have got there, Hamish, will you throw a fight for 20 million? Probably. 20 million is quite a bit of money, isn't it? But then I have to do it, like, now that I've said that, if I ever was in that scenario, you guys would, like, clip this and then go back and then get me in trouble. Dubo is a tight head. Says Toilet Smithy. And I know decorations before December. See, at New World here, which is pretty much the supermarket, they've already got all the Christmas chocolates and stockings and everything like that out and about, even though we're only mid-November. They've got Santa's long legs. I don't know whether or not you guys have that. They're pretty much like marshmallow massive tubes or like cross like a plait. Do you know what a plait is? I feel like I'm using a whole heap of New Zealand slang that might be tricky to know what's happening. But yeah, like what you do with your hair, how you plait it. It's like that, except it's all marshmallow in different colours. I don't remember Hotham, but I do know Ratama. Yeah, that's the stuff, or that's in the US too. After Thanksgiving, everyone puts their stuff up. Australia putting the points, but Wales' defence is good, says Daniel. Yeah, Wales haven't actually looked too bad at times in terms of being able to stop Australia. It just seems to be as soon as Australia gets into the 22, that's when Wales slightly panic and then end up leaving gaps for them to be able to run through. But overall, I think that it's been a pretty smooth kind of half. And players to drop this year, TJ, Kane, Reese, and Rico. Says Mumbo Jumbo Kiwi. Rico Ioane, put that in your books. Yasuki Lala. Says Blues Nate, and yeah, right. Says Daniel. I assume, wait, yeah, right, which one's that? For the Wales defending well, or the other one about dropping certain players? With Wales being so bad, I might get a shirt for Christmas. Or you might be able to get it on special, you think. I played against All Black Josh Lord as well. He was in the same XV as Ratama. Says Toilet Smithy, and let's go Australia. Make it 2 wins for the Southern Hemisphere. We need a good one from you. Says Kingsley. Yeah, well, that's the thing. When we really think about it, this weekend, right? The only Southern Hemisphere side at the moment who have got them... Well, no, that's not true. The only two are Fiji and also we have seen South Africa. I have a question, though, and I hope you guys have an answer to it. I honestly probably should know the answer, but why isn't Samoa playing at the moment? Like November internationals wise, Tonga's playing, Fiji's playing, New Zealand, all these other sides. Did Samoa like miss the cut or something? Like why aren't they playing up against the likes of Chile or any of those things? Even like playing Belgium or someone who's not even listed here. Like just as something, get them some rugby under the belt. I guess maybe it's down to financially to travel would cost too much, but that is a massive shame if that's the case, that they can't afford to play matches. Yeah, maybe all the big teams were already taken or something. It just seems weird not to see Samoa in action here. I saw something about funds. Yeah, that's the concern at the moment, I think, for the Samoan team. Yes, dropping players, says Daniel. Do you think we'll take this match? I still think that Australia have the advantage. But, yeah, it will be interesting to see how it goes. They cancelled their Northern Tour, says KW Stanley. Some are robbed by their union again. Says Flesh and Coal Supermarket here in Australia, displaying Christmas decorations as well, says Scotty's Encounters. Tell you what, if that's 4 a.m. for you at the moment, isn't it, Scotty? Or somewhere around there, so do appreciate you being here early morning for this one. But yeah, they seem to get in quite early. I probably haven't been to the supermarket for a week and a bit or so I haven't known whether or not they've had it since maybe like mid-November or maybe even early. Would you pay £74 for the New Zealand Rugby League? For the New Zealand Rugby League jersey, I assume that is, Manny M. And bro, Lakai is a beast. He's a great player, and I'm glad that he got the opportunity. Like, I'm not glad that it came at the expense of Samu Penifee now taking a head knock. But at the same time, like, that is the similar situation as what we saw with when Ethan Blackadder got injured. We got to see Wallace Titi. Without that, I still don't know whether Razor would have backed him enough. And Shirt says, Manny M, £74. How much is that New Zealand dollars? I'll have a quick look. Pounds to NZD. Ooh. And what'd you say? 74. That's 159 New Zealand dollars. Nah. I even think when they're trying to charge $150 for a shirt is pretty brutal. And we Fijians are asking why are our Pacific brothers Samoa not playing? It's kind of boring. Are we all Pacific players or all Pacific teams don't play? Peter Lakai solid forms of Duplessis Rifi next to join the ABs. And another underrated side, shame on the Union, says Bones. Yeah, like Samoa, throughout their Pacific Nations Cup, they had a couple really strong performances. And, you know, in the July internationals, being able to pull off that win over the Italians, something that no one really saw coming. Like, to come off a win like that and then not be able to do your November internationals, like, it's a shame that Samoa last played in September. Yeah, it was the Pacific Nations Cup. And Samoa broke, that's why they're not playing, I think. Says Xavier Brown. But yeah, it's just a shame, isn't it? Like, such a strong side with a lot of potential when they get it right. I never thought Roygar would make it over Ratama. Ratama was premier halfback in the Waikato area. And schoolboys, that's why Roygar went to the Canes. Says Toilet Smitty. And who the hell would be our midfield alternatives? I mean, I think that some of the midfield alternatives that they would have aren't actually in the team at the moment, likes of Quinn Tupaia. I would like to see AJ Lamb get the opportunity up against the Italians, but I just don't know if they'll do it. And I've been criticised quite a bit for my selections in terms of picking guys who have been brought in as injury cover in a lineup rather than the guys who were named in the initial side. But yeah, in about an hour's time, me and Tim are actually going to be filming our All Blacks prediction. But then I guess that also shows you guys how early in the week we film it. Their injuries and whatnot haven't been announced yet, so it makes it quite difficult to guess those lineups. But yeah, it'll be interesting. Fiaki at 14, next Izzy Folau with a massive boot. They might consider him out on that wing. I, once again, don't think Reece really lit the world on fire out on that side. I have at $1,200 for the Aussies to get the W. What was the return, anonymous official, for that one? Was it a decent amount? Because I know that they were favourites the whole way through for us here in New Zealand. Wales came in as the underdog and currently still are, $4.50. Compared to Australia's $1.16. I think Caleb should go to centre and Ioane goes back to the wing for the ABs, says Ian. See, I'm in the scenario of, like, I'd agree to a certain extent about Rico maybe considering the wing, but I don't think you need to make that change of putting Caleb into the centre, because all you do in that regard is play another guy who's better on the wing in the centres, and it might do the same thing as what we saw for Rico Ioane. So, like, I think that they have better options in the midfield than having to move Clark. So I think serious note, how isn't Tate McDermott starting over White? No idea. I feel like that little bit of impact we saw last week from McDermott when he came on for Gordon was enough, honestly, for me to put him in the starting side. $1,700 return, buddy. Says anonymous official. It's probably not too bad in terms of the odds, to be honest. Like, I can't remember what Australia started at. Probably around that $1.30, $1.40 here in New Zealand. So I guess that works out about the same. Aratamo, that was tried for one season. Oh, sorry, that was only tried for one season. They didn't win one game, but they were fun to watch. Says Grant. New Zealand are going to have a new team in the NRL. Says Manny M. If Wales lose today, then doesn't that mean Wales have lost 11 of their last games? That is true, yes. And also, if they lose next week up against the South Africans as well, it would be the longest, or it's actually the first time that they have gone a whole calendar year without winning a game since about 1940 for the Welsh. So that would probably be the end of Warren Gatland. But at the same time, like, I think he's pretty happy with leaving anyway. Maybe in the future, let's support a Pacific rugby team. I just like the British and Irish Lions will be embarrassing Tier 1 nations. Says Daniel. We have good there. I don't see anyone talking about South Africa here. That's just wrong. Says cool story, bro. I mean, we talked about them a little bit earlier on. John Cena's hosting Shark Week is just a random ad that we've got there. I didn't even realize Shark Week was still a thing, let alone that they'd be getting John Cena to host it. Welsh lad here, not got TV, but thanks for the commentary, says Steve Jones. No worries at all. And yeah, we will be talking about it a little bit more in the second half in terms of the game. We got a little bit distracted in that first half about the UFC, but of course still fresh in the minds of a lot of people. I feel like, to be honest, the Mike Tyson, Jake Paul, if we had seen a different result, I think a lot more people would have been still talking about that one. But because the result went the way that it possibly should have, I feel like that one hasn't really been talked about. Can the Sharks see John Cena? As South Africa don't need any explanation. They're great, says Ian. An unpopular fact, Colby is better than Dupont, says anonymous official. I mean, it's one that's been said quite a bit in recent times. What's your thoughts on Tyson versus Paul? Honestly, it went about the way that I kind of thought it would. Because that's the thing. Even though it's Mike Tyson, right? And yes, in his prime, a very scary man. And even in that first round, he was landing a little bit. But, like, his knees just weren't working, unfortunately. Like, so you're in that scenario of, like, the heart was in it, but the equilibrium was not. So, like, yeah, it's a shame, but at the same time, when you really think about it, right, take the fact that he's Mike Tyson out of it. He's a 58-year-old man fighting a 27-year-old. We saw John Jones versus Stipe Miocic in the UFC. 5-year difference between them. Miocic was 42, and he looked extremely sluggish as well. So, like, you're in that scenario. That was at 42. Add 16 more years of knees and a broken back in 2003 or whenever it was, and a few health issues. Like, it was, like, maybe for the first round it was going to be close, but after that it was just going to be more so Paul was just going to move and get out of the way. And hello from Glasgow, good Scottish name, Hamish. Says Steve McKinney, or McKinney? Hopefully I said that correctly, but welcome, mate. Hope you are doing extremely well. Okay, let's talk about South Africa. How would you rate Eben and Arge's performance starting together? I thought they did pretty well. Arge's Neyman, of course, that offloading machine that he is, and Eben Etzebeth, just a beast, isn't he? Fake Paul versus Tyson, disgrace. For me, I'd make Fake get in the ring with Chisora, sorry. Well, that's the thing, like, he will more than likely fight a boxer of some sort next, but the thing is, right, he's fighting people who he's either calling out or who are calling out him. So, like, if these UFC ex-guys like McGregor and all those guys keep on calling him out, he will keep on fighting them for the big money because it's there. But now back into the game. 30 seconds into the second half, Nick White inside of the 22 will now look to the touchline and does put it out. That's a good kick as well. Very nicely done by Nick White. How will the Wallabies go against Scotland next week? It's going to be tricky. I think Scotland's defence will be a lot stronger. Nicely thrown to the front there. Dewey Lake goes across. Chance here. Oh, that's high from Karevi. That's really high. That has to be an advantage, doesn't it? We'll wait and see what comes out of this one. We've seen worse than that get cards, and we've seen less than that get cards. So the TMO. So do we play advantage here is what I've heard from James Dolman. They will go back and there's a double blow of the whistle. I'll take it for 20 million any day, says Sean Lees. Now we have got their boxing competition was an absolute joke, but allegedly a $20 million pay rise or payday for Tyson. Yeah, like at the end of the day, Netflix wanted something to test out their streaming capabilities. Yeah, that's bad from Samu Karevi. Head on head. He did get a bit of a shoulder to shoulder, but the head did hit. It's going to be probably a yellow card. It's going to be an on-field review. The speed at which it happened, I think, will possibly hurt Karevi, though. We have the only box there. Jake Paul thought he lost after he had started calling out YouTubers and geriatrics, says Cameron Kay. Yeah, I mean, Tommy Fury, he beat both guys who were trying to break into the boxing scene a little bit. Got KSI and Jake Paul. Samu Karevi, they are now going to be down to 14 men out there on the field. He's fighting older boxers. What if Jake Paul challenges Manny Pacquiao? I mean, Tyson said he wants to fight Logan Paul now. So, like, yeah, it was one of those ones. They wanted to test to see how many people they could get watching a live streaming service for, like, live. Because, I mean, they've got the NFL Christmas football that they're doing, and they're thinking that's going to be quite big. So they needed something that was big enough to test out the streaming capabilities, and they got it. Like, at the end of the day, if it was a $50 pay-per-view, I think people would have been more upset. But it was free with your Netflix subscription. So at the end of the day, it's unfortunate. But it also, like, it isn't the end of the world type thing. Cameron Winnett, or two Welsh players jumping off their feet there in the breakdown. And we have the Ahoy H. How's the game been going? It's been pretty quick pace. We've seen a yellow card just come for the Australians, which we are waiting to find out whether or not it is going to be upgraded to red. But this is a chance for Wales to really get something going down the short side. It is Blair Murray. Fire back across Bevan. Inside ball from Botham. And to make that early change of Christ Chinza, that was due to the Adam Beard knee injury. Now Anscombe goes across, little pop pass up from Will Rowlands, looping around, play here, Llewellyn, cuts back inwards. Oh, Ikitau took a head knock there, or at least something to his head, and someone's got a sore rib as well. I think it's one of the Welsh players. This does not look good. I think there's two injuries and one breakdown. Oh, he's holding like his groin or his spleen or something down in the midriff by the looks of it there for the Welsh player. Oh, I think he got the elbow. Oh, I don't know what's happened there for Gareth Thomas, but he looks like he's in all sorts of pain. He's made his way back to his feet. I'm surprised he's going to continue. The way that he reacted to that seemed like it was something severe, but now he's just gone back to his mark. Netflix should take on international rugby. Well, I was quite surprised that the TAB here in New Zealand had quite a few games throughout the November internationals, which has been great. And it's actually quite an interesting watch because on the TAB, they don't actually have any commentary. All you can hear is the referee and also the players out there on the field. So it's actually a new perspective type of thing because you actually get to listen to like what's being said in terms of the breakdown decisions and whatnot. AB's end of the season, 10 for 14. I think that's a successful first season for Razor. Says Cameron K. Yeah, like it could have been a lot worse for Scott Robertson. And, you know, there's still the game next week. I assume is that including that game next week, Cameron K, or is that without that? Leave it on Peacock. Netflix gets everything. So here's 9 HD. I mean, for myself, for rugby-wise, I've got about 3 different rugby subscriptions just to be able to watch everything here in New Zealand. So it would be nice if everything was roughly in the same place. That Crusaders flank will be an All Black. Bro, he's massive and has a massive work rate. Forgot his name, but he's an Islander. Says Toilet Smithy. Are you talking about, is it Christian Leo Willie? Although he did go to the Highlanders, so I'm not sure if that's the right guy that you're talking about, but now passing it on the outside to this left-hand side of the field. Llewellyn, tackle well. Australia still defending with 14, and they've got themselves the penalty. Yes, correct, Hamish. They said beat Italy. I'm watching that, but listening to your commentary, says Daniel. And Dan Carter would have whipped Jake Paul. Maybe in a goal-kicking contest. In boxing, I don't know how DC would go. Just really strong from Tom Rogers at the back to be able to take continuous high balls when they come at him. And how does Graham Henry first year as an AB's coach compare to Razors? I saw a graph a while ago. And in terms of Razors' first, I think it was 5 games, he actually had a worse record than Ian Foster. But from there, I think he's got a few more. Like, I'm not too sure about Henry's first year. I know by the end, of course, Henry had a pretty good record under his belt. Same with the man that came after him. Now currently 45 minutes in. Now rolling more. Mike Tyson looked like he fought with an injury. Yeah, like at the end of the day, like he looked like a 58-year-old man who had broken his back in the past. Like, and the knees, like he just couldn't get going because the legs wouldn't work enough. Oh, that's going to be a loose ball. Oh, that's a good shot on Nick White. I'm not sure how legal it was. There's an advantage now for the Australians. Now they will go to the short side. Noel Alessio, short ball to Rob Valentini. Pops the pass up to Lena Katau. Seems like the decisions at the moment from Australia in terms of who to go to. Wales, to their credit, are defending well. James Slipper gets the bounce pass. Now Callaway with the pick and go around the side of the breakdown, slightly isolating himself, and it leads to the turnover, but they will go back for the original penalty. Is this the last round of the Autumn Nation Series? Not quite. There is still another round taking place next week. One moment, we'll go like that. And like that. There we go. These are all the games that are taking place next week in the November internationals, and that will be the last round with the exception of Ireland versus Australia, which is happening the next week. Nick White looks like he is not that great at the moment. I think that is because of the knock that he took at the back of the breakdown that I mentioned about. Oh, here we go. They're looking at it. I think this is the one on Nick White. High tackle on 9 gold. Going to be checking this one to see whether or not it is substantial. To be fair, he got cleaned up from the side. There it is. He was reaching down for the ball. Bevan goes through. Yep, hits him in the head. He's pretty low. Straight away, Nick White's eyes go straight to the referee to see if he is getting the penalty. But this could be a yellow card against Wales now. And we have there Damn Island versus Fiji. Dosso Viti Dosso. Says Daniel. I feel bad for casual fans bashing the man to death, says Toilet Smithy. And like I said right at the start of the stream, like, you're in that scenario. The same ones who were saying that they wanted Ratima to start for the Rugby Championship are now the ones who are saying get him out of the starting side. So, like, yeah, it's very quick how a rugby or certain rugby fans' opinions can change. They can change literally like that. Like, we could look at this game, right? Tom Rogers, he's had an absolutely fantastic game under the high balls, done everything right. Later on in this game, he could have a deliberate knockdown and Wales could lose, and everyone would say, oh, what a terrible game from Tom Rogers because of that last moment. But it's like they only seem to remember the most recent thing that's happened, not what happened before. I remember what happened just now. It's a try to Australia. They've crossed the line with Matty Faisler and scoring with 14 men on the field. I know, right? Shocking, Hamish? Says Blues Nate. Do you think Ireland should have lost the last tackle from James Lowe. Taking out the Argies player, it should have been a penalty try, says Cameron Kay. Like, that game is going to be talked about a lot, but at the same time, like I said earlier on, Argentina had a man up. They had 15 versus 14. They were 6 points down, and they took 3 points. And then they went for a drop kick, like the next play. So if they didn't have the intent to win there, I feel like, I know it sounds harsh, but maybe they didn't deserve to win. Because you've got to go and put your foot on the jugular when you're in that scenario. When you're down by 6 as well, with only limited time remaining, that's when you go out there and, you finish the job. And you get that try, and then you put on the pressure after that. Ratman, plenty of people are really hating him, says Daniel. And I mean, for the lineup prediction up against the Italians, I might put TJ Perenara in. That's not so much against Ratama purely. I think that's just, I don't think Razor will want to put him in 3 games in a row where he loses his confidence, because that really hurts a young player. Oh, this is going to be a red card for Samu Karevi, as James Dolman has just pulled out the cards from his pocket. Samu Karevi will not be playing next week, and perhaps won't be playing for the Australians for a little while. Please don't forget us when you are hammering nails and measuring stuff. Says cool story, bro. Needs to put a little yellow card over the team name if they have one, Hamish. Just a suggestion, says Ian. Could be an idea, couldn't it? And it wouldn't take that much. All I'd have to do, I guess, is just get an overlay and just stick it right there. Oh, another penalty goes the way of Australia. And this is where Wales start to get into troubled territory. 26, in fact, it should be. 26 points to 13. Not releasing, going against Tom Rogers, who I think's been phenomenal under the high ball. Rare card for my Fijian brother. Yeah, right, Northern Hemisphere refs, says Daniel. Oh, well, welcome back, Samu. There's Blues Nate. A match of the weekend, says Lilia B. Ooh. I mean, if you look at it from the outside perspective, I'd say that, New Zealand-France, for the fact that it was a 1-point game, I would say that would be match of the weekend. But I do think half of the weekend went to England versus South Africa first half. That half was non-stop action between the two sides. So I would say 100% the best half of rugby was between South Africa and England for their first 40 minutes, because it only took 44 minutes to get through the whole half. We had hardly any stoppages, hardly any refereeing needed to be done. It was just pure out action. So, yeah, I'd go with that. But then in an overall outcome for a whole game, I would go France-New Zealand. I don't think many people would completely disagree for that one. But do let me know if there are other games that you would choose instead. I mean, Argentina versus Ireland at times was extremely entertaining, back and forth between them. Noel Alessio looking for the up and under. Out wide to Andrew Callaway. And he's managed to take it nicely over Cameron Winnett. Now, Fraser McWright knocks it backwards. I would say the match of the weekend was New Zealand versus France. Would you say the Wallabies are back, Hamish? It's been a while. I don't think they're necessarily back yet, but they're taking steps in the right direction at the moment, which is exactly what they've needed for a long time. Now, Valentini with a nice heavy carry. Big run from Will Skelton. Now 10 minutes gone in this half. Currently a 13-point difference between them. Italy versus Georgia, says 9HD. See, I haven't watched that one yet, so I'll have to watch it again, or watch it a little bit later on today. But by the sounds of it, very close game between those two sides, Satiti, Lakai and Artie. That's our loose forward trio going forward. Our forwards were massive. Think off-season being in veterans like Richie Mialamu Umunga. All the veterans suspect to the boys, says Cameron Kay, and that is another penalty going the way of Australia. They're probably going to be very careful not to get a yellow here, Wales. I agree with you. France-New Zealand overall was the best game. What do you think of the Springboks? I think they were strong throughout their game. Yes, they've still got a few things that they would have liked to work on, such as those kicks. They were going a bit too deep with the box and the up and unders, but overall, it's a 9-point win up against England. They will well and truly take it, and certain players once again really stepping up for the Springboks. We come in next week, Wales, says Bernard. In reality, any of these top 5 teams can on any given day win a test match, irrespective of their rankings. Says Gary Smith. Well, I mean, it probably represents that they should be the top 5 in that regard. I'm getting ready to throw this one in. Matt Faisler gets it into Rob Valentini. Now looking for this rolling maul. Matt Faisler hanging on to it at the back. 5 metres out from the try line. He's already got a couple from the rolling maul. He's got another one. The Aussie commentators, they are absolutely loving it. But that is a hat trick in Wales for Matt Faisler. 31-13. This is now getting more and more one-sided. Springboks' top tier, says Dominique. I haven't seen a work rate from a flanker since Richie McCaw, says Toilet Smithy, and Faisler hat trick, says Bill there, and Kiwi lads, who scored the Wallabies try so far against Wales. We've seen 3 for Matty Faisler. We've seen 1 for Nick Frost. And then we've seen... Who got the very first one? Was that Matty Faisler as well? I think that's all of them, actually. Unless there's... No, there might be one more try, in fact. Who got the other one? It was early on in the game. Wasn't Valentini. Wasn't Ikitau, I don't think. Was it Tom Wright who scored early on in this game? Might have been Tom Wright, actually. Wales are getting mauled. They've obviously not been paying attention to Peter Steph-Toy, says MTYC. I think he might have only been saying New Zealand ones, maybe. I give up, says Fleshin. Might be the words we hear from Warren Gatland after this game. Happy about that one, though, Matt Faisler, that is for sure. Tom Wright, yes, the guy is becoming world-class, says Aldran. How does the point system work for rankings? Ireland have received phantom points. They kept them at number 1 for a while, says Sean Lees. Well, I don't think they receive phantom points. It's more so dependent on who South Africa and Argentina... that game changed the rankings massively because South Africa, because of where Argentina were in the rankings, they drop a lot. It's based off where your opposition is. I don't know the exact maths behind it, but pretty much depending on where your opposition is in terms of the amount of points that they have in the world rankings, depends on how many points you can gain from a game and how many you can lose. Now, for top sides up against lower ranked teams, they cannot gain much. The likes of South Africa versus Wales next week, South Africa will gain very, very little from that game. In fact, I'll get it here. I'm watching another live. The comments are saying the ref is from Australia, sorry, the Northern Hemisphere, says Daniel. It's quite cool that there are multiple people. Is it a Northern Hemisphere stream, Daniel, or is it a Southern Hemisphere one in that regard? But yeah, for Wales versus South Africa, for instance, South Africa can't gain anything from winning up against Wales in the world rankings, whereas if Wales win, they would gain 2 for the overall standings. So it's all based off where your opposition is and based off their difference in rankings. Now, nice run again. Sitting only 5 metres out from the line. Here come the Welsh. Chance here to be able to score. Anscombe just runs out of space. Bad decision gets thrown at the referee. He's not happy. He's just sworn. And his current form indicator, says Jimbo. I'm so happy for the Australian men. They deserve it, says Slungwabile. Yeah, they're stepping in the right direction. It's a Northern Hemisphere stream, says Daniel. What's the channel name, Daniel? I don't really know many of the other... Definitely not Northern Hemisphere streamers that do these type of matches. Is it a Welsh stream or is it just Northern Hemisphere in general? What do you fancy, James O'Connor, going to the Crusaders? You think he'll be first choice 10 or Reves Reihana? I'd like to think that they would still go with Reves for the future side of things, but I think they'll give James O'Connor quite a few chances. We've seen them sign players before, though, and they end up injured. Like Lee Halfpenny, that was a massive signing. Just never really see him. And he scoreboard is slow, 13:33. Just came on. How much time? There's still another 25 minutes remaining. Yeah, I think it's great to see Australia playing good footy again. See Sean Lees. And the thing is, Australia have scored 2 tries while they're down a man Up and unders require real skill, giving away possession, plus there is a risk of aerial penalties. But yeah, this is all with 14 on the field, and they have scored 14 points since being down to 14. Kick towards the touchline, doesn't manage to find touch with McDermott. Now the counter-attacking chance here for the Welsh. It's a big shot coming in from Nick Frost. One of the TAB odds for South Africa losing next week might put a $5 on it. Says Stefan. I would think that it would be relatively high in terms of, like, it's got to be about $8 underdogs Wales, if not maybe a bit more. You need Aussie to be a player as it keeps the Southern Hemisphere teams true. Chinza, good tackle on him again. Now going back across to the right-hand side, Sam Costello passes. One more to Cameron Winnett. Tackled by Callaway. Australia is necessary for the survival of international rugby. Delighted it's been so quick, says Jimbo. And unfortunately that's right, says Gianpaolo. And I won't see you next week, but keep me in your heart, says Cool Story Bro. We will keep you in mind, of course, depending on what happens in that game. Now, nice run, tries to pass on the outside. It might have been forward, but if it's not, it's a try for James Botham. They might check it, I would say here. And South Africa Bok will definitely beat Wales, says Sabongeli. I think this try is going to stand for Wales. Down the wing, there was a miracle pass from Blair Murray. Oh, hang on. Now I think they're checking it. That's the Autumn Nation stream on Google, says Daniel. And try time, says Blues Nate. Right, they're checking to see if it's forward. It has travelled forward, I think. Yeah, forward pass. You know what, the Aussie commentators, they were extremely quick to say it was forward. They were trying to say it pretty much from the very moment it left the fingers. How has Gareth Anscombe gone today? Pretty poor, to be honest. Like, I would say it's one of his more quiet games. I Blues Nate full pass time, you mean? Says Xavier Brown. And nice steps, though, says Blues Nate. Yeah, almost breaking through there for Blair Murray. And imagine the Springbok team of old with the speed and athleticism of the superb black South African athletes. Says Kerno Week. Well, that's the thing. Like, rugby players in general, they have all been evolving over time. In terms of the speed that some of the players hit each other now is just absolutely crazy. They always say it's like dropping a fridge. I think it's from 2 meters above you. Dropping a fridge straight on you is what it's like getting hit by some of these guys. I would know of the speaker is from New Zealand, thanks. Says Gianpaolo, fair play. Most of these Welsh lads are only youngsters. Nice seeing them show a bit of grit. Says Jason Padner. I missed a few minutes, Hamish. Can you please tell me how many yellow cards in the game so far? Not able to watch the game now, but the scoring site says 0 yellow cards. So pretty much a red card. It was a yellow initially, but Samu Kurevi's yellow got upgraded to the red. So, yeah, very unfortunate for him in that regard. Of course, those Aussies will be shouting that out, says Fleshin. I want your seed, says Freedom. I actually got like a little planter box a little bit recently, so I'm thinking about putting some watermelons in it. I need to get some seeds for that. 4 minutes left of that rare card, and then, of course, they will have to make that switch. A Wales 3 box 80 next week, says Gary, and okay, thanks, says MTYC. It's going to be the scrum now for the Welsh. Like, as bad as they have been at times in this game, they've still only had 3 handling errors, which is actually pretty decent. 6 for Australia. Not the seed they were talking about, Hamish, says Grant. I do know that. I was just excited to tell you guys about my watermelons, which sounds a bit dodgy. It is correct. A mistake is a correct mistake in my question before. Says Gianpaolo. No, you're all good. Now, going for the scrum here again. Big push from the Welsh. And they've got the penalty advantage now for Wales. Still trying to go forward. The ball is there for the pick and go. No, going to be shut down. Back to you, your box of balls, says MTYC. Is watermelon a euphemism? It is not. No, I just do like watermelons.
Nice cover up, Hamish Watermelon, says Lilia B. Scotland versus Australia should be interesting next week. How come Nigeria are not playing rugby properly? South Africa could poach from them. Says, cool story, bro. Well, that's the thing, like, South Africa at the moment compared to all the other African rugby nations are just that leap above in terms of funding, in terms of player pool. Like Kenya, I always thought would get somewhere eventually, but we haven't really seen it yet. I mean, Grant, I don't think that one can be looked at in a different context. And Hamish, looks like Australia are on the comeback trail, says Hugo. And it might be seeing a comeback from Wales, says Daniel. The Box will give some other players a go next week. Yeah, and we're also going to be doing that prediction in about maybe 30, 40 minutes' time. Prediction for Russie's going to go with, stolen. My Lukan Salakai Lotto now 12 metres out from their line. Zimbabwe are good too in Africa. CSF, I'd love to see Zimbabwe take on South Africa A. Like, I don't know why we don't see that kind of box A side get a chance more often. Have they decided to take this one quickly in Wales? I don't think so. And Namibia, says CF. And Nigeria too. Bust running scams to focus on rugby, says Stefan. And don't you mean Namibia? Says Logan. It's going to be kicked downfield, nicely taken at the back. Now Wales with the possession on the halfway line. Llewellyn runs it forward. Namibia used to play in the Currie Cup and qualified for the Springbok team. Says Andre G, as your wonderful country is close to Australia to support the Aussies in the game. Says Johan. I mean, I like seeing Australian rugby do well. I always want to see a competitive Bledisloe Cup. There's quite a sporting rivalry between New Zealand and that's an upright tackle from Valentini. But yeah, like there's always, I do find it funny because with sport in particular, and in fact outside of sport, people are like, that's an intercept. Tom Wright, he's read that one like it's a book, and that is going to be another try now for the Australians. How's Soali playing? He is not as of yet. He will be off the bench. It looks like they're going to go upstairs. I believe this is the one from Rob Valentini, the shot he put in on Christ Chinza. They will check to see whether or not it was legal. Find out whether or not the commentators do like this one, if they do have a look at it. But that's a good steal from Tom Wright. As it's been a good game. It's been decent overall. Like, there's been plenty of action throughout it. But Tom Wright, let's have the chance of bringing up the 40 points here, but they will have to check this one. Yellow card, says Daniel. Okay, the try's going to be good. They've said they've checked all the angles. We never saw it on a TMO. So I would assume it's okay. Fletcher is busy kicking 7 shades of snot out of his house right now, says Grant. And my wife has just told me to calm down. That's not a good sign for us. Fletcher. Okay, they're saying there's no evidence of head contact in that collision. All the videos show no clear head contact, is the comment from James Dolman. I'm surprised we didn't get to see it at all, though, from our angle. And how do I watch the match? Watch app. So if you're in Australia, it's on Stan Sport for this one. Sadly, it is a paid subscription one. Someone said that the Autumn Nations did have it, but I'm not too sure whether that's on YouTube or something else. Oh. Okay, from the behind angle, it doesn't look like he made hand contact. From the front angle, it looked like he may have a little bit, and it's fine. Rassi must select random South African fans to play Zimbabwe. We can win with a high score. It's a waste of time and resources for the Springboks. Says Peter there. Australia will bounce back. It happens in sport. We boxed at garbage no less than 7 years ago. Something most of the fellow Bok fans forget. Look at us now, double world champions. So Aussie will come back, says Gary. The TMO is on Southern Hemisphere this season, says Daniel. And 13-40 the score. Yeah, that kick was good from Noel Alicio. Now another short ball there. Callaway looking for the offload. It's gone sideways. Awkward one on the ground. I think it might have travelled forward. But it's still with the Australians. We play on back into the pocket now. Lena Katau. Looking for that next gap. Big shot on him in the midsection. Northern Hemisphere needs Wales. Same as Southern Hemisphere needs Australia. Select a South African team and then South Africa A. It is the same part of South Africa A as in the UK now. So here's Andre G. Little chip in behind for the Australians. Doesn't quite work out. Missed tackle from Tom Wright, but Zane Ungor drags him down. Now kicked him behind. And it's a good kick. A 50-22 for the Welsh replacement halfback here, Rodri Williams. And well, people are full of hate and disrespect, eh? Says CF. It does happen a little bit, doesn't it? In terms of, like, throughout the weekend, we see quite a bit. There's also some positivity alongside it. Samu Kerevi has been now replaced by Joseph Suali'i. Now, of course, that is the red card replacement, so still could have a suspension here, Kerevi. Stolen again by Australia. Line out time. Here goes Langy Gleeson. Some great pace being shown off to Brandon Payanga-Mosa. Offloads to Fraser McRae. He's honestly had a pretty quiet game, McRae, in this one. Normally we see him front and centre. Probably seen a lot more of Rob Valentini throughout this game. Right on Australia, still doing well. Great to see any Fijian players on. Samu Kerevi was, but then he got carded. So I don't think so. NRL Playboy is on the field now. Says Blues Nate. And Joseph Suali'i more than likely will be slotting in at either 12 or 13. Trying to slap that one back was Andrew Callaway. Then the ball bounces in favour of the Welsh. Now back across. Cameron Wennett goes to Christ Chinza. Ball is out again. Late joining. And oh my. Says Girl, welcome in, mate. Hope you have been keeping well. Of course, next week, Scotland will be taking on the Australians. Noel Alessio looking both ways, gets smashed in the tackle by Ryan Elias. Tosso Australia says Daniel the Kangaroo whacked the Dragon. Aussie commentators know exactly when there is an infringement by the opposition. Says Bones. Yeah, they're very good at picking them up, even when there isn't an infringement. There's the comments made. Downfield, up and under here. Nicely taken by Cameron Wennett. Wallabies, not Kangaroos. Says G. And Oswego there. Not that it matters here. But the 20-minute red card rule. Thinking kiss my toes. Says Fleshin. Now big shot coming in. There was a shoulder charge from Suali'i. Not a lot of arms in that tackle. Of course. Bit of the rugby league background. We have got the Ekin Wales still winning. It's going to be tricky for them. They're down by 27 points, so they need 4 converted tries in 15 minutes. Now, it's not impossible. Oh, they're going back for someone being offside by the looks of it. Do we think Wales will need to play qualifiers for the next Rugby World Cup? I don't think so. I think because they were in the top 2 of their pool, they actually automatically qualified, don't they? If I'm correct, is it top 2 or top? It might even be top 3 from last World Cup for the groups. Qualify for the next one. So in that case, it would be that Australia actually have to qualify. No, they were in the top 3 as well, I think. I think they were anyway. Total try says Jonathan. So far in this one for the Australians, we have seen them score 6. And for Wales, we've seen them score 1. So 7 in total. I was more about their current form. Yeah, well, it's going to be 11 in a row, isn't it? So, not ideal. Yeah, see, that's just a shoulder charge from Suali'i, and Jack Morgan looked at him as if to say, mate, what are you doing? Streamer's a good 2 minutes behind live actual match. Says, gee, that is normally how it works with Sky Sport now. But that's just due to New Zealand's delay that we get on it overall, but we're still having fun. Now, rolling ball coming here. Lost the last 3 line-outs. This ball's going to be relatively stuck in there, and Wales will get themselves the penalty, and it'll stay under 9 tries for my bet. Do you have any other leagues that have to take place as well, Jonathan, or just under 9? Or under 9 means it can't be 9, I would assume. And now Wales are looking for the 8th try here. They're kicking for the corner, trying to bulldoze their way towards the try line. And 40 points already. Shut up, you Portugal Ronaldo fan. Someone said that Scotland demolished Portugal. Where's the part about Portugal? Have I missed a comment, or are you just angry for no reason? Might be the second one. Now, 5 metres out for the line, another penalty advantage. Now drop in the head. Pick and go. No, in fact, this time they're going to use their backline here. Wales, cut out pass, goes to Llewellyn, cuts in. That's a high tackle from Tom Wright again. Going back around. I don't know how that wasn't a penalty advantage against Tom Wright, but they will go back for the original penalty anyway. Any positives that Wales can take away from this match? At times, stuff looked all right on attack. And with the exception of those line breaks that Australia are getting, like, they've had some all right moments. It's just tough, though. Like, at the end of the day, you don't want to be conceding 40 points. I have a bet on under 9 tries and under 10 total tries, along with under 9 tries and under 10 total tries, along with under 65 total points. Right, well, you might... Oh, I'll tell you what, you'll be nervous because there's a try that's just happened now. Looked like the last pass was relatively flat to Ben Thomas. And that now is going to make it 58 points in total for this game. The kick to come straight out in front. This is going to be a nervous final moment for you, Jonathan. Still 12 minutes left. England need a new coach. Wales need new players. And the coach, says Gary. And hey, ref, yellow card. That was a high tackle. Yeah, that one from Joseph Suaalii was a no arms, and that one was almost high as well that he's just made. What can mankind do about Monday? I don't know how to answer the question, to be honest. Currently Monday today, I might be having some chicken later. That's what I can do about a Monday. Cook some chicken. Oh, quite nice. There's at least another 2 tries in this, says G. And we have the angry for no reason, I suspect. Plus it's Sunday, which means tomorrow is Dreadful Monday. Although today in New Zealand, it is Monday for us. It's almost 7 a.m. After this, we will be filming with Tim, doing our Springbok and All Black prediction. So if any of you guys have a wild card that you think is going to take place for either of those lineups, let me know. We might even do it in my selection. Nicely taken by Wales, by Jack Morgan. And Suaalii really needs to remember to wrap. Yeah, it can get you in a lot of trouble. Definitely in, like, that's the thing. If you get suspended in this game, you're going to be missing for a while, bro, not Fiji, says Salveu in there as well. As in, these two teams that are playing and not Fiji, because if so, that is very much correct. Now, nice stepping there. Offload coming from Andrew Callaway, Max Jorgensen with the skip pass out wide to Leonard Getau. Got the man on the inside, but instead we'll kick it out on the full, as you do. So Jordan and Price away from the URC after this year, says Kerr. Oh, so Tom Jordan and Ali Price both going, are they? Whereabouts are they heading? Japan or France? Bulavanaka from Detroit. USA, my Fijians on the stream. And Kiwi Lad just joined the stream. Gatlin will surely fall on a sword and tender his resignation. Thoughts? Well, I mean, he thought about it from the very first game he was coaching them, about handing in the resignation from there. He decided to stick around a little bit. And the thing is, I honestly don't know if a different coach at this point would have helped the Welsh that much. Like, it's a very tricky one because Wales have lost so much experience, and honestly, like, they've got a side that needs rebuilt, and it's going to take time. So it's probably a couple years till they get going. Here comes the kick in behind from Nolalisio, looking for Suaalii, who didn't get the ball, but running it into touch for the Welsh was Blair Murray. And Hamish, condolences for your team's loss yesterday from TrueBot fan. Comment dictates you sending me some lamb chops, says Johan. So you want lamb chops for New Zealand losing, I assume is the comment there. I mean, to be fair, I have been sent biltong from, well, it was a New Zealand biltong outfit rather than a South African. I don't know how good the lamb would be by the time it got there. I'd have to try and keep it frozen or something the whole time. Unless we just really dry it out. Now it's going to be kicked downfield from Wales. Still 9 minutes remaining in this match. Andrew Callaway. I'm going to try and back his pace. He's had a pretty solid game out on that wing. Max Jorgensen looking for the offload. It was almost away for Llewellyn, but it is the knock on. Either frozen or keep it alive, says Kerr. And come on, Wales, says Saveu. And so many Fijians, bro, says Octo Dad. And lamb jerky sounds illegal. In some regards, like, if you take it in a certain context, then absolutely that is illegal. It's funny how everyone says we need Australia to be great when there's a Lions tour, says Fleshin. Every time Westerner changes the rules for rugby, it's their own rules, and they can't win Rugby World Cup. Bill Beaumont knows. I can see Wales losing by 50 against South Africa next week. Could be ugly, says James. Wish New Zealand be playing South Africa next week, says Daniel. I know a lot of people wish that South Africa were going to be playing Ireland or France. You should send fresh lamb with the wool still on it, says Grant. Lamb would be mooing by then. Now off the back, take McDermott, goes to Len Ikitau. Quick hands. Oh, that looked like a no-arms tackle from Eddie. James kicked him behind from Andrew Callaway, and Cameron Winnett does take the mark. Gree lad, who do you reckon the strongest, toughest scrum team is? Says G. I mean, we've seen some brilliant scrummaging from South Africa for a long time, whether that's the starting or the reserve, so that's probably the safest answer and the easiest answer to give. Why is there a random bloke on the field? What's he doing? It's a medic who's out there. I'm not sure who he was giving medical attention to, but whoever it was must be up and running at this point in time. But 40 metres out from the line now, Zane Ungor. Is lamb meat expensive in New Zealand? My favourite meat? It's a little bit expensive. Like, it's a bit surprising, seeing as, you know, there are so many sheep around. But yeah, it's a bit on the pricey side. Too much high tackle from Australia, says Daniel. Oh, big run from Zane Ungor. Almost went through. Cameron Winnett went for the interception. Wasn't able to get it. Valentini win it again in the breakdown. Just getting cleaned out every time. Now McDermott. Across to Angus Bell again. Bro, there are more sheep than actual New Zealand citizens here, says G. It's going to be the advantage, but not rolling away. 74 minutes. This is a great chance for a try. Suali'i wrestled down 5 out from the line now. Back across to the left. Past him behind Ikitau. Decides to hang on to it. Breaks the ankles of Cameron Winnett. And that is another try here for the Australians. Take the score up to 45 points to 20. I'm talking about Ireland. Says James, I'm an Irish fan. Do you think all the older players of Ireland need to be dropped? I think so. I would like to drop guys like Jameson, Gibson Park and Lowe. Get others in and drop the 30 plus. I would disagree about possibly those two. Just because I think Jameson, Gibson Park, definitely last week up against New Zealand, he was one of the shining lights in that team. And yes, the last game against Argentina was a little bit more shaky, but I honestly still think that Gibson Park is the best 9 that Ireland have got. I'm not too sure who would be the next guy. Like Craig Casey, for me, at the moment, doesn't quite do it. Connor Murray, he's kind of gone now, or at least it seems like he's slightly made way. And Goat Curry is good. I already said it, 47 points to 20, says Daniel. Although this kick does have to go over from Lolesio. And to be fair, it has. It's bounced off the post. Australia 2027, 100%. There's G there. And my son moved to Abu Dhabi from South Africa, stayed there 3 years and moved to Wellington, New Zealand 2 weeks ago. Says Andre. So, yeah, seeing a lot of the world. A lot of Welsh fans are leaving with 5 minutes remaining. That is the last thing that this young Welsh team want to see. But they've decided that they want to beat the traffic. I do find it interesting, though, because the commentators for the Australians, you know, they've mentioned it a little bit, but then we've got to remember it was not that long ago that there was pretty much a whole stadium walkout from the Wallabies. It would seem that the commentators have forgotten that that did take place. Cameron Winnett now passes across to the left-hand side. Chance here for Eddie James. He just drops Zane Ungor, which is a pretty impressive feat to do. 25 million sheep timers now, says Julian. Goodbye, Get, says Bill. There's only about 30 million, 25 million. Wouldn't be surprised if Australia gets 2 more tries before the end, says James. I'm passing back across here. Ball in position of the Welsh. Will Rowlands, Danbro. South Africa will annihilate Wales next. There's Apisai. Thought about the offload there, getting a wedgie in the process for Blair Murray. Now loose pass. Picked up by the Welsh. Jack Morgan on the halfway line. Score is 20. Points to 47, says Neville. Currently got 77 minutes down in this match. It's going to be kicked up high. Now, chance under the high ball for James Botham. Doesn't take it cleanly. Offload there, McDermott. Look for the pass. I think it was knocked on by Nick Frost. And down road, South Africa will annihilate them. And Wales will rebuild. They'll be right. Says Ian. And they need to play rugby leagues and learn how to defence. Says Blues Nate. And also Ireland, Scotland and Wales, their defence will improve in the rugby leagues. Just asking England, or just asked England rugby league team. They are just talking about the youngsters on the field for Wales. There's a long way to go, but got to start somewhere. Rassi will do a 5-3 split against Wales and rest the starting 15. Here's MTYC. And just shows how bad Eddie Jones was for Australia. He has lost his shine. Now, and Joe brought them back to their former glory slowly. Says James. Don't even want to see Wales play South Africa. There'll be 60 or 50 points on us. Now going back across to the right-hand side. Free kick here for Wales. 2 minutes remaining. It's one of those ones. It's a great day for Australia to be up 47 points to 20. Not a great day for the Welsh. Now short ball looping around. Nicely done there. Cameron Winnett does step nicely. A little bit of a counter-ruck coming in. My prediction was 47-20. Once again, the Kangaroo whacked the Dragon, says Daniel. Still 2 minutes left. Can they get something going here, Wales, with their backline? Llewellyn. Tackled again by Lucan Salakaialoto. Aussie try coming up, says G. And yeah, it's a crazy situation we're in there. Every time Wales have the ball and they're shifting it out their backline, I'm just waiting for an interception from a bad pass. Hopefully it doesn't come, but it could. Now passing out wide to Blair Murray. Still a 27-point lead, though. The scoreboard hasn't updated to the 40. There we go. Has now found itself the extra now. Cross kick attempted from Wales. And just a little bit too far out in front of James Botham. It's a tough one. And for the Welsh, that's the thing. They have to come into their next game and try and find some sort of momentum to go up against the world champions, which just is not an easy task to be able to do. Aussie try, says G. And geez, the Welsh are getting hammered by Australia, says Boy 10. But now the Wallabies, they've got 25 seconds remaining. We'll go like that, and we'll go like that. There we go. McDermott now stepping nicely. Gets through another gap. Numbers on the inside and the outside. Tom Wright will pin his ears back. And that is going to be the try for Tom Wright. He has got his hat trick as well. Gets worse South Africa next week. Hope it isn't a false start for Australia rebuild as World Rugby needs them. Really disappointed with Wales, says Peter Wild. Would you say Georgia could win against Wales? I think so. Wales so poor. Even Italy would fancy their chances against Wales this year. And when they have them at home, Wales to get another wooden spoon, says James. Yeah, there's going to be a lot that has to improve by then. You're also in that scenario of, is there a chance by that Six Nations we will see a different head coach at the helm? And how did we concede 60 and score 50 in the same year? Says Xavier. Yeah, certainly a turnaround for the Wallabies, but they're looking to finish the season on a high, and maybe 3 wins from 3 in November could be exactly what they need to do that. They will be playing Scotland next week, though, and that will be a pretty tough game. They've still got the W's, though, says Lee Jean. And also we've got their cricket score, says CIG. Lining up this one. And Lolesio has missed away to the side, so that will end the game now. 52 points to 20. The win for the Wallabies. They will be happy with that one. They had a time in this game, though, where it was a little bit nervous. 19-0 up to then end up 19-13 up. The rear card of Samu Karevi didn't change the outcome other than, of course, the fact that he will not be playing next week Springboks put 100 over Wales, says Churchill. And start the bench will drop Warren Gatland, Eddie Jones, Jake White, says Pierre. And there as well. This result is criminal. Sorry for that one, Aussies. Well done, Oz. Bad result. And cheers, Hamish, says Gus. Wales go through the rebuilding like all other teams, but they always come out the other side as a team to take seriously, says MTYC. And RIP Wales Rugby in the chat as well. But nonetheless, it's been an interesting rugby weekend. Like I said, we've either had very close games or we've had one-sided ones. Thanks so much. Jesus bless you, brother. CSG there. And thank you very much for tuning in. Greatly appreciated. Good call, bro. Thanks, says PJ. So in terms of what is happening next week, for anyone who is wondering about what is to come for us on the channel, France versus Argentina on Saturday morning. We are hoping to cover that one on the channel. Also, Ireland versus Fiji, Wales versus South Africa. That's going to be a tough one at the Principality Stadium up against the defending world champs. Italy versus New Zealand. That is going to be the game straight afterwards. And then Scotland versus Australia, followed by England versus Japan for the 2 games on the Monday morning. But a lot of tries. 3 for Tom Wright, 3 in this game for Matt Faisler. So that's 6 tries combined, and then there were still other tries that we did see the Wallabies score, including Nick Frost managed to get himself a run and 2. Thanks for the effort in keeping me updated on the game. Says MTYC, I should say. Thank you very much for tuning in. If Wales get rid of, or don't get rid of their coach right now, they're going to vanish into oblivion. And thank you, Hamish, for another great weekend of rugby. Have a fabulous week. Until next weekend, stay blessed. Says Lilia B, I should say. And thanks for the stream, Hamish, as always, says the Big VHL. And thank you very much for popping in. Australia now 2 from 2 for their Autumn Nations with one more game next week up against the Scottish to try and go for the full 3 from 3. Cheers, mates. Time for work tomorrow. And thanks for the match, mate. Says Conrad, no worries at all. We're going to be back with plenty more next week. South Africa taking on the Welsh. Going to get to see Australia, Scotland, New Zealand versus Italy, Ireland versus Fiji, France, Argentina. All big matches taking place in the rugby world. Great commentary, Hamish. And thanks, Hamish, says Albert in there. And thanks, Hamish, for the stream. Join you next week. And ciao, folks. And Wales are truly hopeless, says Stephen. Yeah, not the result that the Welsh were after, that is for sure. But there's time to improve, I hope. Maybe. We'll see it next year in the Six Nations, whether or not they can really get back on that right track, or whether or not they will be struggling for multiple years to come. But we are going to have a bit of a post-match chat by the looks of it, ladies and gentlemen. We will go like this, and we will go like this. We will bring in Rugby Itch. Some of you guys will know him. He's actually one who we are doing the prediction with in terms of the Springboks lineup as well as the All Blacks. We will be filming in only about 15 minutes time or so, but we might as well have a bit of a chat with him, see what he thinks of this Welsh side. We'll go like that, and we will go like that as well. New Zealand versus who? New Zealand are playing Italy next week for their game. Scotland versus Australia are going to be the one to watch. Thanks, Hamish. There's Nigel. Yeah, I mean, I would like to think that Scotland would not concede 50 points. In fact, I think Scotland, they will struggle to concede 25 just because their defence is normally what helps them out in a game. And we're seeing time and time again them make really important tackles, last-ditch efforts. They'll be back to relatively full strength for next week. So, yeah, I think it's going to be a really good game when those two sides do go head-to-head. Damn Gats, good riddance, says Critical there. And also we've got there Go and Have Fun with Kangaroo Dirty Fs. Interesting. I mean, they'll certainly be happy with the win. I hope no kangaroos are harmed in the process. But hello, Tim. How are you, mate?
All good.
So, not ideal for Wales, unfortunately, but a great win for the Aussies. 52 points on the board. Who do you think, other than, of course, the 2 hat-trick heroes, who do you think stepped up in terms of that Aussie side?
Oof. I named 5 players in my chat. I said it was definitely Manny Faisler and Tom Wright who were kind of the standouts of the host hat tricks. But I thought Nick Frost had a good game as well. I also thought Nola Seo had a good game, as well as Len Ikitau. Those were kind of the 5 I thought really impressed me the most, I think, throughout the game. Ikitau, man, he's really proving it. This is obviously early because it's only 2 games out of the 4 that the Wallabies are playing, but he's looked pretty good so far. I think one of the best centers I've seen so far throughout this Autumn Nations. Again, I think when the Wallabies scored 2 tries when they have a red card, it kind of just proves that the Wallabies were definitely the better side, and yeah, just Wales just didn't take advantage of it.
No, they unfortunately weren't clinical enough. And I mean, that interception try from Tom Wright kind of sucked any momentum out of that Welsh back line. It's going to be a tricky one because for Wales next week, you're up against the world champions who have got themselves 2 wins from 2 throughout their games so far. How do you fix what has happened here in just 1 week? Like, is there anything you can really do, or do you just sit there and hope that South Africa have an off day? Because do you see the current set of players for Wales having a really good shot up against South Africa at all, or do you think they're done and dusted?
There were some players that stood out, I think, in that game at least. I thought, there was Thomas, I think he looked good, Rogers as well. I think there was a few players in there who I thought like just they had moments in the game, but just at the end of the day, it's going to be tough whenever you face the world champions. And like, honestly, I could say the only thing that could maybe stop them in their tracks, maybe if their discipline isn't good enough, I'd say the Boks. But besides that, the Boks should be able to kind of control the game with ease. If they don't get anything above, honestly, above 40, I think that'll be pretty surprising, to say the least. But also fair play to Wales if they're able to do something like that and keep it a close game. So we'll see what happens. But yeah.
We are going to be giving our Springboks predictions very soon, Tim. We're going to be filming that one, deciding what Rassie's going to do. I think we will see quite a few changes for his side. Warren Gatland, the biggest problem he's got at the moment is if he tries to make a few changes, there isn't really anything else, I would say, with the exception of maybe a couple players that could come in. I just don't know if there's enough oomph in this young Welsh team. But, I mean, Australia going into their game up against Scotland. Scotland great at defence, normally making a huge amount of tackles
that'll be a good game.
Their contests.
I'm looking forward towards that.
Do you think that has potential of being not just the closest, but also match of the weekend?
Yes. Well, it depends because, like you just said, if it's a close game, then honestly, I can see this being a very tight game and not a lot of tries being scored. But at the same time, and I think if it does go that way, it'll probably go in Scotland's way because that's kind of the way that they like to play. But if there's a lot of tries being scored, then of course I'll think it's the Wallabies it'll be going their favor because that's what they like. They like to play in and out, kind of just see who scores more, and the Wallabies will definitely take that challenge on. So we'll have to wait and see.
I'm just wondering, they won't have Samu Karevi, so I'd assume that Suali will make his way back into the starting lineup. Yeah. Is there anyone else in that Aussie backline that you would consider switching? Noel Alessio still seems to be a little bit 50-50 at time on attack, but I think people are pretty happy with where he is at the moment. Yeah. In a majority of those kicks over. I think Callaway was impressive out on that right wing, being able to handle the youngster Blair Murray, just because he's got a bit of bite to him, doesn't he? Same with, like you said, Tom Rogers, great under the high ball. There's little bits of potential. It's just they need about 2 or 3 more years to happen in 7 days to then be able to find that next level. But it's going to be interesting. Big weekend of rugby overall. So we will get just quickly before we go for yourself, match of the weekend. Who would you give it to?
It's a tough one because I unfortunately didn't get to watch the full game of the England-South Africa one. So I can't really say that was match of the week. And honestly, when I'm looking back at the highlights, I don't think it classes as match of the week. I think you just got to say France-New Zealand. I think that was probably the best match out of the week. This one was just too, kind of one-sided. So I definitely can't say this one. So I definitely lean towards France beating the All Blacks by 1. Did
you get to see the first half or the second half of South Africa-England?
South Africa. I got to see the second half of that game. I watched the full 80 of the France-New Zealand game, but unfortunately was occupied to not watch the first half. But again, some good tries scored in that one, so it was good. It's good watching the highlights.
For myself, I had first half. I think in that game was the best half of the whole weekend in terms of what happened throughout.
I can see that. Yeah.
But then best game, I did also go with All Blacks versus the French. But nonetheless, I think we are close to the end of this one. Anyone who's got any last-minute questions, be sure to chuck them in the chat. I see someone said Blue Hoodie Bros in there as well. I think yours is do you say Adidas or Adidas where you are, Tim?
I normally say Adidas, but I know a lot of people here say Adidas. So I just kind of, whatever rolls on the tongue and what people are saying, I'll go with it. But back in Hong Kong, I definitely say Adidas.
What about Nike? Do you say the E on the end or do you say Nike?
I don't say Nike. I think Nike's one of those where I think more like you can make an argument where Adidas is said more around the world than Adidas, but I think Nike is just said more often than Nike. I think it's just one of those where it just rolls off the tongue better, and I think more people just say it like that. But hey, could be wrong. Could be wrong.
Someone has asked when the Box are playing the All Blacks again. That will be in the Rugby Championship. So it's a little way away. We've got to wait a while, but that'll be about September or so next year. But the good news is, if you're willing to wait that long, you'll get to see it twice. So that is the bonus of having to wait. I want to see All Blacks play South Africa. Is another comment that we saw just then. This is the worst Welsh team in the past few decades. Springboks will make multiple changes. Again, give other players time. I feel a bit sorry for the Welsh next weekend. Yeah, it honestly, like in the nicest way possible, it could be a slaughter in the game next week. Like we saw people leaving with 5 minutes remaining in this game up against the Australians. Like
they could leave it
honestly, yeah, it could be a brutal game for them. And I feel like if Warren Gatland doesn't hang up the coaching boots for the Welsh team in this one at the end of the,
I wonder who should take over.
It's so tricky though. Yeah, who do you give it to? Who would want a team that's going to be on a 12-match losing streak? That's not exactly intriguing.
Yeah. Like, Wallabies had a project at least under their hands, and I definitely saw the potential of the Wallabies. I thought that's a great job for anyone who takes it on board. So they had the squad to do it. But when you look at the Welsh team, they don't have the players, unfortunately. Like, there's a lot of time that they need to develop. And, like, they're at kind of the stage, unfortunately, where they're at when Eddie Jones took over the Wallabies, really, where they're like 2 years away before actually getting good. So there's like 2 more minutes of them, really. So we'll see.
Got a bit of a point there, doesn't he? Yeah, it's kind of makes sense. Although the English language is very weird, isn't it? Because you can take the same words and then you switch one letter and then all of a sudden it becomes a whole different thing. The Big VH show said, will Ireland be the litmus test for Australia? I honestly think Scotland.
I honestly think it's Scotland.
Of course, Ireland, we can't underestimate what they can do. But for me, anyway, that game next week, I think, has that little bit more intrigue.
That's the one.
And depending on what happens in that game, will then build the hype for the game up against the Irish, I think, the week after, if Australia can pull through.
It depends how close the game is. I will say, it depends how close the game is. If it's one-sided, then that Ireland game, the last one, will be like, okay, well, you expect the Irish to kind of power through here. But saying that, Argentina put up a good fight against them, actually, and I actually thought they were going to score. Like, I mean, I was watching the highlights, so I didn't know the what was the score at the end. I was like, have Argentina, have they won this? Like, I was like, no, they kind of won this. And then the referee just calls a penalty. I'm like, wait, that's it? Like, there was something I thought there was something in the breakdown. There was like, nope, just game's over. I was like, oh, okay, never mind. But no, Scotland is definitely a good side, and I think Australia is definitely the one that's the game Australia is definitely targeting, in my opinion, where that will be the litmus test, like you say.
We got there. I have a question for you, Tim. I was getting called a biscuit on the live stream yesterday, but it was said in it was an endearment term, you know. Apparently in South Africa, calling someone a biscuit is a good thing because they were all saying that Cheslin Colby was a biscuit. And in the UK, if someone called you, if someone said you're a biscuit, Tim, in the UK, would that be considered a good thing or a bad thing, do you think?
I think people take it in the wrong way because whenever you say something about someone, like, you'd be like, hey, mate, you're a biscuit. You'd be like, what do you mean, mate? Like, elaborate, kind of in a way. So it'd be like, I don't know. I think it's one of those where you have to, I don't know how to take that, man.
Yes, you're absolute biscuit, Tim. No. Yeah. See, in New Zealand, it's like, you're kind of insulting them, it's calling someone a biscuit in South Africa as a compliment. Says Lionel there. So it's a thing. I got told
I've never heard
yesterday.
It. Look, I'm from Zimbabwe, by the way, so I've never heard it in Zim, by the way. So it's just one of those where it's not really kind of, I guess, an expression really to say.
Well, Sean has said it depends what type of biscuit. If it's chocolate chip, then that's great. Sean then. And also, are you guys chat logging in? Awesome. Says Johan there. See, that's the thing. Like, outside of live stream, me and Tim, we talk a little bit because we do a few videos a week together. So this is kind of what happens normally before we start our recording. We'll just catch up on the weekend of rugby. We're just doing it in the live version. Because, of course, next we are going to be filming our Rassie prediction for what he's going to do up against this Welsh team, and then also the All Blacks, what they will do up against the Italians after a 1 point loss, eh? That's a little bit of a oomph to the AB's November International. Seabiscuit is legendary racehorse That's where the where the saying comes from. Seabiscuit. What is a seabiscuit? I feel like that rings a bell as something that I've
heard that
of,
before,
but not
yeah,
as a
yeah.
horse. What is?
Isn't
I'm
it
going
like
to
part of
Google it.
I thought it was like a movie or something.
Could
be wrong.
A movie based on the horse, perhaps?
That's probably what it is. Like, I don't know.
The term
Cannot remember, man.
sand dollar apparently is called a sea biscuit. Do you know a sand dollar, Tim?
No.
It's all new, isn't
I'm not
it?
really in
We're
the
so
racing
much.
world. Don't know my terms
Are
there.
you good with your American states, by the way?
Yeah, pretty good. I mean, I know
'Cause-
most. I mean, again, I'm not going to get like all 50. I mean, if you can name off the bat, like I've always seen like this like timer, like where you time people, like you give them a minute to name everything. I'm definitely not going to go over
a minute to name 50.
Yeah, but you have to name it quickly. Like you have to name all this. Like it's just one of those where I could only get to like 20. I think. Like honestly, it's just one of those where it kind of I'd just be like, But besides that, it's
You do what? What was that? Right, US states them.
No, we're not.
I told the chat earlier on that I was going to try and name all the states. That was during
Oh,
the
you gonna
halftime
do it?
break. Well, we might as well. You almost sound American, so you might as well join in.
Okay. Let's see that. Let's see you do it.
I'm going to
If
get
I
it
do
up.
this or you? Like
We're going to do it as a team, Tim. You and me, we're a team. We're the
okay.
boys.
Well, this should be pretty
This
easy
will
for
go
me.
very badly, I would say. Who is your man of match for this game? Do you want to give a man of the match while I am getting this already? Who would you give it to? Tom Wright or Matty? I feel like Tom Wright did more.
I actually give it towards Manny Fazler because I just think it's more impressive when a hooker gets free tries in a game. It doesn't happen often, so I was impressed. I thought that was impressive, and again, it even said in the broadcast that he's the first Australian to do it. So that's kind of the reason why I said it. So, but again, Tom Wright had an excellent game, so nothing against him. But yeah, I thought Manny Fazler just when a hooker gets that, you got to kind of applaud that.
That's probably fair enough. See, I like the backs a little bit, but of course the forwards, like that rolling ball was dominant from what we managed to see throughout that game. Like anytime they got close to the line, Matty Fazler just sets up at the back, and it just seemed like it was always going to be a try. Which, I mean, it's tricky for Wales, isn't it? Because, of course, you don't want to drag that down because or else then you're a man in the bin, and it's just a hard day. But there we go. Oh, no, where should we put us? No, we're in the way there. I'd like to put us actually.
Oh, you're actually doing this off like a map as well.
We're doing it off a map. What we're going to do, though, is I'm actually going to edit this. One moment, because I want to customize this one.
Yeah, all good. All good. I mean, by the way, the reason, by the way, I'm able to name it quickly is because I follow the NBA like heavily, so I can just name teams off.
Okay.
That's the way I do it. Like it's very quick, kind of where you just get those out of the way, and then you think of the rest. So it's kind of
right. So you got that inside knowledge type of thing.
Indeed,
I actually wanted to put us on the other side because there were a whole heap of ads there, but it won't let me. I don't think so. We're just going to do it with us on this side. There we go. Right. Don't worry about all the random ads that you're getting. You ready? We got 10 minutes. This is a strange thing for anyone who's just tuning in now, but I'm going to let you rattle off a few for a start, and then we're going to stop giving me Air New Zealand ads. Right. Are you ready?
Exactly,
3, 2, 1, 10 minutes off the bat. We're going to get them early. Come on, Tim. Give us
Let's go
Washington.
Washington on the top left corner.
Oh, this is going to test out my typing. Washington. Boom.
Yeah. We got Montana. It's right next to it.
I thought you were going to stop there.
Oh, no. We can go California, which is down on the left.
Oh, I got caps lock on.
California.
Shoot, that's an I, isn't it? My bad.
That works. We got Oregon, which is in between the two there.
Oregon. Oh, you're doing
where
like
the headquarters are.
No.
We got Texas, which is down in the middle, where I used to live for 1 year. We got.
There you go.
Yeah, lived there for 1 year. Lived there for 1 year. We can go New York. I mean, we'll actually go Chicago. Go Chicago first. Go Chicago. That's an easy one.
Any particular? Oh, hang on. Chicago, Illinois, isn't it?
Oh, Illinois. Yeah.
How do you spell that?
Illinois.
You
got
Here we go.
What else there? You got map. You got you got Miami. Florida. I mean Florida. Florida. Sorry, Florida. I'm thinking of like
we might as well
teams
chuck a New
of NBA.
York in there.
Well, New York isn't a.
Tom Wright was man of the match, says Neville. And also man of the match,
New
give it to
Mexico?
Rob. Which was that?
New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Yeah.
There we go.
You got Denver.
Colorado.
Yeah, Colorado.
Yeah.
You got Utah right next to it. See, I'm just thinking of the teams. Like I'm trying to think of any sports team I can think of in my head. I'm just like Denver Nuggets. You got Utah Jazz. You got what else? You got Tennessee. I mean that's University of Tennessee. You got you got the Carolinas where I'm from, South Carolina and North Carolina.
I go very quiet when I'm typing. Or else I
all good.
It is, yeah, very, very much so.
What else? You got? I'm trying to think of states here, so I just need to move in here. You got
Nevada. I might as well fill in
Nevada,
that.
yeah. You got what else are you missing in the South? You got Alabama. You got
You've got Georgia, of course, played in the rugby, but just not
Georgia.
Quite.
What else do you have?
Montana. We've already done. You've done that one.
You done Montana. You got Minnesota.
Minnesota.
Oh, no,
Damn,
there's not two ends, but yeah.
Got New Hampshire.
What else there's?
Rhode Island, I've seen in the chat as well, has been said. Arizona as well.
Oh, Oklahoma. Oklahoma as well. OKC. Anyway, I'm just saying OKC, but it's Oklahoma. Oklahoma is how you say it. Yeah. And you got
Indiana as well, someone said.
Indiana,
We're doing good
yeah.
here. We're getting
Ohio,
through them.
of course. Ohio for Cleveland, yeah.
Oops.
Ohio with the O, yeah.
Idaho.
Then
It's also a place.
You got
Kentucky.
Detroit.
Love a bit of
Detroit
chicken.
as well.
Detroit, Michigan.
Well, Michigan, yeah. I'm thinking of the NBA teams, guys. I'm sorry. I'm just thinking of NBA teams when I'm thinking of this. What's up top there? You got North Dakota and South Dakota on the top there. Like 1, 2.
North
Dakota, yeah.
Dakota.
And then South Dakota.
Dakota.
Yeah, after there, that's where I'm kind of like, okay, I'm kind of stuck here now. I'm trying to think of other teams now. Oh, Kansas, yeah. How did I forget Kansas? That's a bad one.
Someone said Hawaii. Oh, yeah. Well, we should probably do the ones that are.
Oh, yeah. I mean, Hawaii's one of those.
Alaska.
Alaska and Hawaii. Yeah. Yeah.
What else have we got? We got a few more that start with I.
What else?
I believe.
You got Philly, but it's Philly.
Nebraska,
it's not Philly. It's
Nebraska. West
You
Philadelphia.
got Philly, which is
Born and raised. Connecticut.
It's Philly.
I'm
trying to think. It's not Boston. You got Boston and Philly, but it's not. But this is where I forget my. They're not the states. They're
Connecticut.
You got what are they in? It's
This is IPPI.
Virginia.
Missy.
Dude, have you done Virginia yet? Have you done Virginia? It could be one.
Virginia, and that's pretty close to
No,
a different word. I needed the I and the R.
Yeah. Okay. So that is
got
okay.
West Virginia. Pennsylvania.
Mate,
which I think
oh,
is
okay, the
another
live
one.
chat dudes. I was like,
Yeah,
how are
I'm
you getting
looking
this
at
on the
the
live
live
chat?
chat, mate. I'm just looking at the chat. They're helping us out. I'd be
Okay,
insulted
fair
if you don't name my state, Amish. Says Robert V. We're getting close to it, I think.
I mean, I'm kind of done with the thing now. I mean, there's like I can't really think of any more.
I think there's another new. How many news have we got? We got New Hampshire, New York, New Mexico. I think there's one more. New something. Arkansas.
I don't think there is. I mean, there's.
Go. And there's another short one in the middle. Ohio, there is, and then there's also another one.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, I'm trying to think the one that's next to Ohio is like you got Ohio.
What? Delaware, that's a sneaky little one, isn't it?
Ohio.
Maine, that's the one near the top.
Wyoming? Is it Wyoming?
Yeah, that's a good shout.
I think it is the one. Yeah, there you go. That's the. I was trying to think what's the one in the middle, but
there's a lot that start with M. You know.
M.
I feel like we're missing an M. New Jersey. There was another new.
That's bad from me. What's right next to Texas? I should know that. What's next to Texas? It's not.
You
got New Orleans.
Is that Massachusetts?
No, it's Louisiana. Louisiana. That's bad for me. I should have got that early. Louisiana. Pelicans there. Then you got. What else? You got.
Choose.
You got. I mean, every state's covered.
That's not even close enough. Massa.
Yeah, no.
Massachusetts. sits.
I mean, there's Wisconsin, by the way, which is right next to Michigan.
Between I can't get close enough to Massachusetts.
Massachusetts. Okay. M-A. It's like what it Massachusetts.
There we go. Someone had to.
Cool.
Someone typed it for me.
Wisconsin.
So quite nice.
Wisconsin.
Missouri. Wisconsin. Tell you what, we're 2 away. Orange County. I don't think that's one that I know
Orange
of.
County.
Where are we missing? Where we got?
Iowa?
We got.
Is it Iowa?
Iowa. No,
you got Iowa.
There's one up the top, I think. A little one up the top. And then maybe one around
Maine?
Delaware. The one below.
No, you done Maine.
We're done Maine. Arkansas we've done. We've got 2 left now. Ooh, 3 minutes left. Someone do not Google, I should say, ladies and gentlemen. We want to do this legitimate. Oh, tell you what, Lorenzo's gone with a big list.
So it's the one next to Wins. Is it the one next to Wins? No, that's part of Wisconsin.
That's a shout. That's a good shout. I can't spell it. There we go. That's the one up there. Now we just got the one little one, I think.
But where? I can't see where we're looking at.
I'm not sure. I think it's below Delaware. Maybe. ASB should be paying me, Tim. You see how much advertising you get at the moment?
I'm mad. I wouldn't know. I literally wouldn't know. Like because you got like Rhode Island. Is it?
I can tell already. People are Googling. They're getting ready. Boston's in New York, isn't it? Boston, New York. Back to the first ground. Sound out the word.
I don't know, man. I don't know.
No, we've got to do this, Tim. We cannot be one short. You know, that's what the All Blacks were up against France, am I right? I can't believe we've still got 260 people watching. So everyone who's tuning in, thank you all very much for being here for this quiz. Wyoming, Minnesota, Alaska, Maine, Vermont.
Boston's in a state. Yeah.
It's Philadelphia. Is Philadelphia a state?
It's not. It's not.
I'm going to type it anyway, but spell it wrong.
There's not a J, but...
Orange County. I will type Orange County, but I don't think it is. No. What's Orange County like? That's the area, right? But what's the state? Is it not the capital, Washington, D.C.? That is the capital of Washington, which we have got. That was Tim's first one. We got 90 seconds. Shouldn't that map be red? Says Sandor. Nice one. The great state of delusion.
It's the one there. I think it is. I now see it. Yeah, okay.
It's a little one.
There.
Someone's going to find it, I'm sure. But hopefully off the top of their brain, not off the Google. I can't even think of what letter this could be. I don't handle pressure well, Tim.
I don't even know what it is because like you've got Vermont,
Baltimore. Is it Baltimore? I think I spelled it
That's
correctly.
bad for me. It's bad for me.
This is California. We're done California. At least the area. Yeah, DC. We got DC. Rhode Island. I think I did Rhode Island. Yep. Nah, we've got it there. Neville's coming clutch. It is Maryland.
Maryland.
Wow. Okay. Another one that started with M. We did say there were a few that started with M.
Couldn't think of
There
that.
you go. Tell you what, that was stressful, Tim. I am now stressed.
I mean, all I could. The way I think about the States is it's kind of bad, I guess, in a way. But I just think through NBA, but also just American football teams, kind of like college level, not. So, yeah.
There we go. We got 100% though. See, boom, easy.
I think honestly, I would have got like what 30 of them. Honestly, I think I would have got like maybe not. I'd say like 35. I could probably got, but 15 other ones I would have been like, particularly up on the top east. There's some I would have forgot there, but because I would have only guessed Maine, Vermont, Rhode Island, New York, and probably New Jersey, but I would have forgot the rest probably.
Yeah, see, I normally
one of those sneaky ones.
I went through a patch that I could name them by like going like you did at the start, how you were Washington, Oregon.
Yeah, like I can name them where they are. That's the thing. Like, you can name them either like where they are, or you just name, or I can just go, okay, like I'm gonna name them off college teams, which I was doing next, or then I name them off NBA teams, and then anyway, it's just an order. But yeah.
Oh well, we just proved that with the help of the chat, 100%. We had 36 seconds left, so got a little bit close by the end, but nonetheless, that is a bit of post-match entertainment, I guess, ladies and gentlemen. Which we did not plan. Well, I said at halftime I would consider it, but I didn't actually think that I would do it. So luckily you were here, or else I probably would have got 15. My brain wasn't working there. Maryland is a state where there's the capital. where there's the capital. Is it like Maryland and then Maryland's the capital too of that state? Maybe? And the letter Q is not in any state.
I like that. Hopefully Fiji will be singing Zombie instead of... That's good.
And I only know North Carolina, says Bill. Well, that's all you need to know. If you live there, I would assume that at least you know your way around. Final question, is Ireland rattled? I think that they're just finding their rhythm. Like, at the end of the day, we've seen poor performances from sides who are first up in their first game. And, like, Ireland, like, they haven't looked the same as they did throughout the July internationals, but I don't think they're going anywhere in terms of that top three. I think they'll have a good Six Nations. I think France are the team to beat at the moment, though, I would say, from what we've seen. But we'll have to wait and see how they end up going. But nonetheless, ladies and gentlemen, we do thank you all very much for tuning in to not just the commentary, but also to the quiz about states. I'm going to have to try and really practice that, and we'll see whether or not we can get 50 next week as well. We're not going to make it a regular thing, though. We'll just stay there right now. But nonetheless, we do thank you all very much for tuning in, and the 200 plus who are still here, it is greatly appreciated. You're popping through for these live streams over the weekend. Plenty more coming next week as well. But yeah, big thank you to Rugby Itch. Be sure to check out his YouTube channel. He knows a few states and also knows a bit about rugby. So check him out on YouTube. But thank you all very much for tuning in, and we will see you all for the next one.